Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
You coulda had it all, you coulda had it all. All of my good stuff, all of my kisses were yours. Baby, don't call. I'm praying on you. A queen like me needs more from you. Hot girl summer, I'm waiting on you. Where my queen's at? And I appreciate that. Where my queen's at? I'm done waiting on you. Don't care if you judge me, don't need you to love me. I dance on my own, I don't care if they watch me. You coulda had it all, you coulda had it all. You coulda had it all, but you didn't come right, you didn't come right. Now you wanna come call me. I'm done praying on you. A queen like me needs more from you. Hot girl summer, I'm waiting on you. Where my queen's at? And I appreciate that. Where my queen's at? I'm done waiting on you. I'm done waiting on you.
This is the part where you hit the hideout. This is the part where you start to vibe out. Vibe out with me, you know. Vibe out. Yo, I'm trying to chill, I ain't trying to wild out. Something I can feel, turn it up and vibe out. Vibe out with me, man. Vibe out. Say your time to me. This is the part where you hit the hideout. This is the part where you start to vibe out. Vibe out with me. Vibe out. Yeah. Yo, I'm trying to chill, I ain't trying to wild out. Something I can feel, turn it up and vibe out. Vibe out with me. Yeah. Vibe out. Let the smoke go up in the air, ride low, take it slow, no cares, ride. Let the smoke go up in the air, ride low, take it slow, no cares, ride.
Pop. Real life. Yeah. You say you feeling me, you say you mad at me, you type your life away, hey, what a tragedy. But can you make it right when you go offline? Can you make it right when you go offline? They watching, everybody watching, everybody wild, everybody got options. Stop it. Can you make it right when you go offline? Can you make it right when you go offline? Wanna get by, wanna log on, wanna play those tricks. Cause you ain't got no life and you ain't got no prospects. Let me get you know it all. Your taste excellent. Face that, put your lips all on my testament. Take that, see in the real world we don't play that kid. We keep our mouth shut and stay up out of grown folks' business. And what blows me is everybody a critic, everybody a cynic, see everybody a addict. You can miss me with that, sir. My people come to your psyche. I won't ever reply to haters, but watch what you typing. I could be your greatest love of all and hashtag that. And I'm twice the pimpin' when I step back from my mag. See, y'all get that digital courage and just go crazy on her. But that's okay. Pull up, like angels say, see me in real life. You say you feeling me, you say you mad at me, you type your life away, hey, what a tragedy. But can you make it right when you go offline? Can you make it right when you go offline? They watching, everybody wild, everybody got options. So, can you make it right when you go offline? Can you make it right when you go offline?
Can you make it right when you always online? How can you make it right when you be talking all the time? You always talking. Fingers move so fast when you be mad, think it's all about lacking. Hit that space bar, ain't no jagging. Wanna be the first to unleash the dragon. Rolling up while you be typing slick. That's how much I give a damn. I don't sit online talking to myself on my Instagram. Speaking tongues, keys and hugs. Frequent animosity. Possibility of your progression and atrocity. All your tweets are dripping, grit and tricks, but you behind the screen can actually extract a bit of passion that you really need. Silly me, I'm tripping. Boy, I got you fishing, typing everything in caps and acting like you on a mission. I'm sitting here getting my diction, sipping on this chamomile and hitting my prescription. Watching people battle back and forth upon my timeline like Olympians. My fingers like buckshots to these villains. They chill.
You say you feeling me, you say you mad at me, you type your life away. Hey, what a tragedy. But can you make it right when you go offline? Can you make it right when you go offline? They watching, everybody wild, everybody got options. Stop it. Can you make it right when you go offline? Can you make it right when you go offline?
Rock with me, oh my girls with me. Rock with me, oh my girls with me. Rock with me, oh my girls with me. All my girls bossy rock with me, I'm a savage. All my girls bossy, if they want it, they can have it. I ain't even till I get the baby. Rock with me, all my girls with me. All my girls bossy rock with me, I'm a savage. All my girls bossy, if they want it, they can have it. I ain't even till I get the baby. Rock with me, all my girls with me. Rock with me, all my girls with me.
favorite till ending. I need to know what I gotta mention. Tell, please, preacher, I'm sorry for sinning. But that's none of his fucking business, no. I'm about to go crazy if I don't get back to my baby. The night is young, I don't feel the same. My mind is racing, it's running away. You got it, I want it, I need it, I'm coming. I really need it, I really need it. I've been thinking about it, I've been dreaming about it. Now I'm feeling for it, I need a needle for it. La 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 la. I really need it, I really need it. Her skin, my hands, her clothes, that order. Whoa, I'm about to go crazy if I don't get back to my baby. The night is young, I don't feel the same. My mind is racing, it's running away. You got it, I want it, I need it, I'm coming. I really need it, I really need it. I've been thinking about it, I've been dreaming about it. Now I'm feeling for it, I need the needle for it. La 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 la. I really need it. Can we have a fairy tale ending? I need to know what I gotta mention. Tell, please, preacher, I'm sorry for sinning. But that's none of his fucking business, no. You know that I'm about to go crazy, right? If I don't get back to my Hey, ooh. Hey, you got it, I want it, I need it, I'm coming. I really need it, I really need it. I've been thinking about it, I've been dreaming about it. Now I'm feeling for it, I need a needle for it. La 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 la
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Show me the money. Show me the money. Yeah. 'Cause it feels good right now. Yeah. Gotta show me the money. Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Never been around wealth, now I'm surrounded. Nice cars at the mansion right next to the fountain. CEOs in business suits and private accountants. Yeah. Summertime parties by the pool, we lounging. Then by night we out stunting on the main strip. Out of state trips, cars with the paint drip. How could you hate this? Jewelry in my chain sit. That's the life I wanna live. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. Yeah. It's all about the lifestyle. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle. Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Haha. Never have to worry if I have enough dough. Fashion show out in Paris in the front row. Party every night, I don't have time to sleep. Next day it's the same, just rinse and repeat. Summertime trips on the yacht to the island. Squad rolling with me and we do a lot of wildin'. Bottle of whatever you want, just put your order in. You can have as much as you want, there's plenty more of them. Yeah, show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Yeah. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Yeah. Come on. Show me the money. Show me the money. Haha. 'Cause it feels good right now. Yeah. Hey, gotta show me the money. Whatever. Yeah. Come on.
Hello, everybody. Welcome along. It is time for the semi-finals of Europe, and we're here for the GLL Masters Spring once again. Of course, alongside me, Dan Gaskin, looking resplendent, and I looked that up because it's a positive word. You're looking great, my friend. Very excited about the day's action ahead.
If you hadn't have told me it was a positive word, I would have considered it a negative word because I know you. But yes, I'm very excited for today. 6 games of action, some of the best teams, well, the best teams in Europe going toe-to-toe. So I think we're going to have some fantastic Apex in front of us.
We certainly are, and we've got 12 games to get through over the next 2 days. You can see all of them in front of you right now. This is the schedule, as you can see. All of the games kicking off around those times. I'll try and keep it as close as possible. We'll try and get it going even faster if we can. But as you can see, split between the 2 days. We've got 6 games to bring you today, and then the final 6 tomorrow. So a long format here, Dan, for these teams, which usually means we get the best of the best going through.
Yeah, it's not going to be match point format, so we're not necessarily going to see teams, pushing for that match point victory as we get later into the competition. It's all about trying to secure those points when they are available and when they present themselves to you.
And this is what they are playing for, of course. $100,000, the total prize pool. And you can see 15k for first. And the point system, like you were mentioning, on the right-hand side, if you're watching competitive Apex for the first time, you can see 12 points on the board for taking home that first place. And then all the way down, unfortunately, if you're 16th to 20th, you do not deserve anything, quite simply. And you're not going to get any points unless, of course, you pick up some kills. You can see 1 point per kill going to be allocated to teams for every single player they manage to take down. But this is all about Europe today. We've already seen the North American semi-finals. I know we've got all of these other regions going on at the moment, but we were looking across the 2 groups, Dan, and there's some crazy strong teams in both of these groups. It doesn't seem like there's one group that is particularly stronger than the other.
Yeah, I was taking a look at both semi-finals and I was trying to, suss out, is there one that is maybe a little bit harder? Is there a group or death? But actually, we've got some of the best teams in Europe. We've got previous winners of this competition. We've got winners of ALGS events. We've got everyone that you would want in an Apex competition all going to be going at it against one another. They're sometimes under different names because of organizations changing here and whatnot, but I think you viewers at home will recognize a lot of them.
Well, this is the group that we are going to be following, I'm led to believe, and this is going to be group 1 of 2. And you can see some of the big names that we have in here. You have the likes of Avantgarde, you have CHMK, Dead Inside, Fire Beavers, who just recently won the LCQ for the ALGS Championship. Lots of letters and stuff to get in there, and I managed to get them in the right order once more. You've got Na'Vi, you've got Scars, like you mentioned, who are the reigning champions of the GLL Masters, Dan.
Yes, and I'm sure they would like to retain that. They might not be, having the same name as they previously had when they won the competition, but they would like to win it for Scars indeed. Also, a few teams here that have really performed well throughout the tournament. They might not be huge names, but in terms of through the round of 80, round of 160, etc., they've really been able to blow some points out of the water. And it'll be interesting to see whether they can compete against some of the biggest teams in this competition.
Yeah, I mean, just looking across as well, some of the names I didn't mention there. You've got Third Impact, you've got Naski, Yuki, and Dell. I mean, you've got No Creativity. I mean, Replied Totem Esports. I mean, it really is almost a celebrity lineup of teams here in this first group. And of course, with 2 semi-finals, and with semi-finals in general, you have to have the second semi-final. And this is the one that we will not be following, but we'll keeping you up to date with as the games do roll on as to how the points are being spread out. You can see Le Seat de France in their playoff winners. You've got Solo Q Goats, Nessie. I mean, again, Dan, just so many strong teams.
Yeah, and teams like Disco Boys, for example, really topped their group throughout the round of 80 with 83 points. Gambit completely dominated their round of 80 group as well. So that's why it will be a shame not to see these guys go at action. But of course, when we get to the finals, we'll be able to see these teams transition into that grand final with these teams that we will be watching in the semis. But yeah, some amazing ones. I mean, T-Rex, for example, we've seen them do some big things on the stage. Peepo, Solo Q Goats. You could just name pretty much the entire lobby and you're like, oh yeah, they've got some fantastic players.
For you. Name Team 13 then, come on.
Name Team 13, yeah, well, that's, yeah, no.
That's the real reason that we aren't following that group. It's not really, of course. Alliance, though, in that group as well. I mean, we know all about them and what they've managed to achieve in recent times. Like you mentioned, you got Nessie. I mean, as I say, a star-studded lineup all the way through for all of these teams. But the longer format is something that I have really enjoyed, especially leading into a finals, Dan. You do get the opportunity, not the fact that it's a longer format and you get, usually the best teams who are being the most consistent over the 2 days. But also it gives them that break. It gives a little break after 6 games where you can go away, assess how the lobby has played on day 1, and then adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I think in the match point format, sometimes people will fall out of favor a little bit because they want to play the game in a certain way. You're used to playing for that late game, for the circle, you know, getting those kills when they present themselves. But as soon as match point is then available to you, you have to completely change your playstyle. Whereas with a point system that is going to accumulate over time, you can play the way you want to play. Whether you want to start slow or whether you want to start pacey is entirely up to you. And we will see those different playstyles kind of change throughout the tournament, and we'll also see who favors a faster playstyle, wants to go for those early kills, get high up on the leaderboard, because you will be a little bit of a target as well. The higher up you are on the leaderboard, if someone notices maybe one of your teammates gets knocked, they might try and come third party you.
And of course, it is at the semi-finals, so it'll be the top 10 of each group who will be going through to our finals, those top 10 spots. So we saw there was some surprises in North America. We saw the likes of Solifide, who are one of the most consistent teams in the entirety of the ALGS winter circuit. They didn't make it. So even though you have this longer format and you have somewhat of a buffer, if you like, as far as you can have a few bad games here and there, and still, if you're a good enough team, you should be able to rack up the points to qualify. It shows the strength of competitive Apex, I think, at the moment, where, you know, a team like Solifide can found themselves being upset, and it could be the same here in Europe.
Yeah, consistency is everything, as it always is in a battle royale, and one of the most difficult things to do in a battle royale is actually to be consistent, whether that be consistent with your rotations, which is often challenged by where the circle may be, whether it's trying to find consistency in your team fights, which is often challenged by third parties, fourth parties, fifth parties, depending on who wants to get involved. But you have got those 12 games, and the first 6 games today are going to say a lot about where this semi-final is going to go and who are going to be the front runners. But the fact there's a break in between the 2 days allows you to kind of sit back, assess, see who's doing what, who's rotating where, who's been dropping in certain places, who's finding such success, and then you can tailor that for your next 6 games tomorrow. And I wonder whether we'll see teams change things up.
Yeah, just let everyone know as well, that isn't actually a person that's behind Dan at the moment, sort of slumped over. That's just a hoodie. There's nothing weird has happened in his house. I promise you that. He promised me beforehand, and we have kind of like realsy swearsies. It's a whole thing. Don't worry, he would never lie to me. But I mean, let's talk about the teams then. I mean, some of the teams that you're looking out for. I mean, we've already mentioned it's a star-studded lineup here in Europe. You can pretty much pick any team off the paper. But for me, I'm kind of looking likes of Fire Beavers, who have come out of that LCQ recently, and they really put a statement on as well. You know, they topped the group. They were the first team through. They were, you know, look ready for the ALGS championships as well. And you look at some of the names on that team as well, the likes of Nine Impulse, you've got Sunset, Taskmaster, all of these who have been on, you know, some of the best teams in Europe previously coming together, and they seem to have just found that chemistry that they need to succeed.
Yeah, and momentum is going to be everything as well going into this tournament. Whilst, again, consistency is difficult to go from one tournament to another and find the same success, the lobby is going to be different. There are going to be certain teams that are going to be dropping in different locations that you might have been facing in the previous tournament, but they should still find success, and I hope they still progress to the final, because it would be great to see consistency. Teams like Na'Vi is difficult to avoid. Kick Esports have also done fantastically in recent times. Scars, we should focus on just purely because A, they're amazing, B, because they're previous winners of this competition. And then, you know, a team that I actually think might do quite well is Third Impact. They were a team who did well during the summer series last year in this tournament, and they have, of course, done very well throughout ALGS, but they have had periods of downtime where they have been a little bit quieter. But for some reason, I've just got a little bit of a feeling about Third Impact. I feel like they could turn up today.
The feeling in the gut, the feeling in the waters, the Dan Gaskin quote that I'm going to say. I'm going to put that to you. Now, I like that you've gone in early, though. You've you know, you're confident with it. I like that. I'm interested in following Scars, though, because I feel like they haven't performed to where they would have wanted to in recent times. We're so used to talking about, you know, Scars, this lineup being, you know, top 1, 2, 3, top 5 minimum, you know, in every single tournament they do play in. But playoffs was a real disappointment for them. I mean, they were never in contention. They really struggled. Yes, the zones were against them. Yes, there was a lot of Western zones. We should talk about that. Obviously, it comes into effect when you're playing a battle royale, how far you got to travel, how far you got to rotate. But for a team like Scars to really not find any form in any of the games was a bit of a concern for me. So this is an opportunity for them, especially across the longer format, just to find a little bit of form again. Yeah,
I think if circles become a problem where it is happening to be west a lot and you are dropping maybe east and you're having to traverse a lot of the map, you need to be looking at trying to change that rotation to find more consistency. We did see some teams that were dropping kind of southeast of the map and still being able to get to northern western circles and still succeeding. So that's something I'm sure Scars will be looking at and trying to find out what went wrong, what went right. Was it them getting third-partied? Were they unlucky? Was their loot bad? Should they have focused more on looting earlier or looting later? Just kind of grab and go, which is the method that we see TSM often go for in NA, is just get some loot and get early rotation so that you can get in, even if you've only got like white armor, etc. So all these different things that will come into consideration for the team.
Well, we're just waiting for the final few players to join the lobby. It's not us holding the game up. As we all know in esports, the casters always want to talk and don't want the game to start. It's an ego thing, but today it's not the case. We're waiting for the players to get into the lobby. About a minute or so we're hearing until the game does get to start. But I'm looking at some of the other teams as well. You got Natsuki, Yuki, and Dell, who seem to be finding a little bit of form recently as well, and starting to slowly find their way back into the form that we've seen from them in previous competitions. CHMK, I mean, such a deadly team as well. Totem Esports have been consistently in finals. I mean, this isn't going to be an easy group to qualify out of. This is going to be an achievement in itself to get to the finals.
I think it's going to be about trying to find a balance of aggression and also playing for that circle and knowing when not to push teams, because confidence is of course going to be everything, but then overconfidence could find you in a very sticky situation when you're pushing into some of the best teams in the world. But if you do notice a little bit of a weakness, if there is a team that you feel has given you a bit of space and is kind of backing away from you too much, sure, jump on them, get that octane pad down, get in their face, get some KP on the board and just assert dominance early.
Well, good news, everybody. As you can see on your screens at home, it's time for the first game of the day to get underway. It's semi-finals time here in Europe for the GLL Masters Spring. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a slog. It's going to be the best teams in Europe going up against each other over the next couple of days. And we will have the 20 best teams going through to our final. It's our job to find out who those teams are. And we're going to start off with the reigning, defending, undisputed champions of GLL. Of course, it's going to be Scars Europe, previously known as North, dropping at their usual overlook location, and an opportunity for them to, just like I mentioned previously, Dan, just find a bit of rhythm and form over the next couple of days.
Yeah, show us what they've got and show the rest of the community what they've got as well. In the previous round to get into the semi-finals, they finished 5th out of 20, of course. They did have one victory, a couple of slums, a couple of 13ths, but at least they were able to get the one victory, as there is an early fight going on here as well. Croissant under a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, lots of contesting off drop. I'm just looking at the kill feed at the moment. It seems like it's not just Croissant who are interested in a little bit of early breakfast as far as the battles are concerned. There's also some other kills going down as the Pathfinder is going to leap up and find himself at the end of an EVA 8. And that's never the good place to be. They will be the first team to be eliminated. And it's going to be, I believe, Na'Vi who were eliminated there.
It was Na'Vi, and that's not going to be the start that they would have been hoping for. And I'm sure they're going to be looking at, well, that drop, and are they going to keep dropping there? Is there going to be a contesting situation where they're going to have to take a fight in the early stages? But we also saw a finisher being performed there as well. So 69 IQ Esports just trying to loot up early here. As we can see a map overhead, and we can see where everyone has dropped, and that circle is going to be somewhat central. It's not going to be necessarily a Western pull, and actually it's going to be a geyser pull. So this could be the circle that a team like Scars, for example, very much needed to give them confidence at the start of this tournament.
Absolutely, and I love what we've just seen there. I just want to point out that finisher is known as asserting dominance in game one when you are contested off of drop. What you do is, if you're playing Wraith, you pick up the player who was quite simply, callous enough to challenge you and throw them into the void and throw them into game two where they can return and maybe have another go at it. But for Na'Vi, it's a bit of a surprise to me to see them be contested off drop. Obviously, they are landing over at Lava City at the moment. Usually, we kind of saw Na'Vi previously landing over at Fragment West, but obviously, we don't have Flavor of the Month here in this semi-final, so that's normally their drop. So maybe a little bit of a change up there. And it's interesting to see, for me, to see Na'Vi maybe not winning that fight early on against a team who are, with all due respect, not as well known within the scene.
It could happen though. Sometimes if you drop and you kind of don't get a weapon, or if you hold yourself in a tough position, or someone just gets caught off guard, then it's a fight that isn't going to go your way. But at least it is the first game out of 12, and they can make up for it later, as Natsuki, Yuki and Del in a little bit of a spot of bother. One of them has gone down. Thankfully, Kibby's going to be there to get the res, but I think this is going to be a push. It's going to be Firebeam that's getting involved.
Yeah, they are. The winners of the LCQ recently are going to have to push in here and try and finish off these kills. Nasky will go down on the Gibraltar. They'll be forced back, though, by an arc start, but Firebeaters do have a massive, massive advantage in this fight. You saw that Dell had to back away and pop some meds as well. Yuki had to do the same. Nasky will be finished here. So first kill points on the board here for Fire Beavers, and the Bloodhound scan's going to come in, and they still have a 3v2 situation. And this, unfortunately, looks like it could be the end of game 1 here for Nasky. And, of course, Yuki and Dell. There it is. Job done. 2 teams eliminated. And it's 2 of our strongest teams in the lobby.
You want to say Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, don't you? It's just, it rolls off the tongue. You're so used to it. But Yuki
I
now.
bite you. There's blood in my mouth. It's weird.
Bite the Strafe. And then you can just get rid of it, and we go to Yuki instead. But yeah, that's a shame that they've been eliminated. Just kind of exposed themselves a little bit too much, found themselves caught in open ground. One went down, and as soon as you've got it down now, with Octane being heavily in the meta, it's so quick to get in and pounce on those players that are going to be left in a 2v3, sometimes even a 1v3 if you can catch the Gibby also reviving. But we're down to 18 teams there. Nasky, Yuki, Dell, and Na'Vi both eliminated.
I think if there's one thing I couldn't have predicted, that would be the first 2 teams eliminated in the lobby, but that is the case. And a little bit of a surprise to me to see where, Nasky, Yuki, and Dell actually found themselves taken down, just holding that choke. And usually such a team who are so dominant on their rotation and know where that circle is going to be pulling, they didn't obviously have full confidence maybe that was going towards Geyser from the first circle. So kind of hedged their bets a little bit about where they wanted to play, or maybe they just got out-rotated by some of these teams coming from the southern side of the maps who are holding this ridge built, or these ridge buildings, making their rotation a little bit more difficult. So questions to be answered there for Nasky, Yuki, and Dell, but they will have to be answered in game number 2, as we've already seen they have been eliminated here in game 1.
Also, another team like Fire Beavers, they hit their shots. Sometimes you can be having a little fight, having a little scrap, and you're more than happy to hold your ground, and all it takes is a couple of headshots and you're on the floor. So Fire Beavers performing excellently as Succubus at the moment. Just having a little hide, but they have spotted a team just by the building here, and there's going to be some good shots coming out, but are they able to get the knock? No, they are not, so they're going to have to back off ever so slightly, and it is going to be a back just to ensure that he's at a full wealth of health.
I mean, that player did incredibly well to get away and deny the line of sight there from Akko as he tried to get those shots going down. So good job from the team inside of that building and to stay alive in that situation. That was actually going to be Fire Beavers who were inside of that building as well. So you can see a lot of area being already taken up here within Geyser. And I think that Fire Beavers are actually in one of the stronger positions. Usually we see one of 2 pulls here in Geyser. You see it pull towards that extreme western building where you, eastern building right at the top of Geyser, or you see it pull down to where Fire Beavers are currently set up at the moment. So they're kind of hedging their bets that it's going to finish there. We'll probably see a team holding the vault tunnel as well, maybe where Scars would be looking to locate themselves for now. But Avantgarde, who are going to have to make a little bit of a longer rotation, currently working their way through Epicenter here.
Yeah, Avantgarde, who I've got a jump on someone here, and that is going to be the knock. It's going to be 3rd impact. Ballon G, unfortunately. Or Ballong, sorry. I've always said Ballon G, but I remember that one interview where he said, well, it's actually Ballong.
I was never corrected. You know what I mean? And and then I heard him say Ballong, and I thought, I'm so sorry. After all that time of calling you Ballon G, but, he's a G. We're not wrong, Dan. He's a G. We were just kind of being street with the kids. You know what I mean?
I feel like if we had said it to his face, though, and called him Ballon G, he would have just taken it. He would have said, yeah, I'm Ballon G. That's who I am. Because he's
the ultimate troll.
He's a polite young man, though. That's what it is. He didn't want to upset us, make us feel stupid. But now we feel even more stupid.
This is true. We are. It's difficult to do to make us feel more stupid.
What I was going to say, though, about Avantgarde is they had a really tough round of 80 group, and they were still able to top it. They were joint with major pushers, but they had the likes of Nessie in there, and I was really expecting maybe a lower placement from them when I was looking at the results, but Avantgarde actually did really well, and they had such a slow start in the round of 80 where they finished 15th in the first game, but they were able to pick things up. They were able to get a victory. Even with a 19th place finish at one point, they still came back as Croissant, after the early pressure, are under some late game pressure now, and Robin just trying to survive, strafe his way out of the fight in the Bloodhound ult. Is it going to be a little bit too much here? Just on the edge of the circle it is. Final bullets go in, and they'll go down.
And then we're going to see a stick on the outside as well. What a play that is from Rugby on the Octane. You can see he got the stick and they managed to do a lot of damage as well. And it's going to be 69 IQ who are going to be taken down here. Smeggy-To, one of the greatest gamer tags in the history of esports, who will unfortunately be taken down for his squad. There's one more player alive. The team hasn't been completely eliminated. You can see them desperately now trying to locate where that last player is. But, I mean, a great play there. You see how strong the Arc Stars are. There's a lot of discussion over whether they're too strong in the meta at the moment. But you can see, when you do land those sticks, it's pretty much game over for the team who's on the receiving end.
Just a couple of shots to ensure you get the KP there, but it's about sussing out where the remaining players are. Have to be really quick to move after you get a couple of kills, because you're going to be drawing a lot of attention to yourselves, but they are right on the edge of the circle, and they're going to have to be moving a little bit more central towards that geyser area where the majority of teams have situated themselves now, Mark. And of course, it is all about that gamble. It's all about trying to predict where the circle's going to go, as there is that final member we were talking about, Tycoon. Just holding out in the red here, probably hoping that he could maybe even try and retrieve some banners, but it's a difficult thing to go for. Some teams don't like to camp banners. They feel like you've got that KP, you can move on now, you can try and position yourself for late game, but, you know, just securing one extra KP can be a lot sometimes.
Well, you can indeed, and it can also make sure that you don't get shot in the back by one player shadowing you if you do end up in a 3v3 and they come back for revenge. So important to find that final player, even if you don't get the kill, just to locate where he is and make sure that he isn't going to be a problem as the game does roll on. But CHMK, and I'm going to call them that for now because I cannot pronounce their full name. I'm going to be completely honest with you, and it's better for everybody who's watching the broadcast, me and Dan included, if I just try and stick to the acronym instead of the full name. But doing a good job there in that fight, like I mentioned, and they do love to play edge as well, so they're not going to be too worried about that quick rotation. They do also not have too far to go if they're controlling that choke between where they are at the moment, this little outpost just to the north of Lava City. They have a pretty quick rotation in towards Geyser. One thing they love to do is take advantage when a fight does break out as that circle is moving. They love to be the third party and then force themselves into a position. But Tycoon at the moment, he's doing a good job staying alive. The only worry for him is he's probably getting a little bit low on meds right now.
I'm gonna be honest, when I looked at the team name, I saw like Mortal Kombat / Metallo Combat was what I went for.
Yeah.
And I was going to be, Combinat. There was all these different things.
Get ready for all the Sub-Zero quotes, all the Scorpion ones, but yeah.
Wasn't going to be the case, but underrated now, pushing in, getting aggressive. Revenant, Eva 8 in the back pocket, and the Revenant ult was popped. So now they're going to have to push back in after doing that initial damage, and I think they did get it down. Horizon was able to get one. So they're going to have a 3 versus 2 here. K-Swinny, I think, gets sent back as well, so now it's going to be a 2v2 situation if they haven't got one up, and they have not. And into the void goes Wraith just to try and escape.
Got to be careful with that third party, though. As we know, if you decide to fight within guys with all these teams making that rotation, all of a sudden you could be caught off guard by another team just pour it in or jump padding across to make sure that they're there to clean up the leftover bits that are left from these fights. As dead inside now, unfortunately, down to just one, with Stanley having to play underneath this building on the Wraith, and you can see he's going to be spotted out as well by at least one team on the Crypto. So a lot of different Legends being played, which is something we love to discuss here in Apex Legends at the competitive level, the viability of so many different Legends at this point in the game. It's great to see, and you can see each Legend and each comp plays into a different team's playstyle.
And there is going to be, I guess, a new dynamic added to Apex Legends with the new 3v3 arena mode being announced and being introduced to the game May 4th. There are going to be a lot of people who are going to want to play that arena mode and practice with the Legends that they're good at. But of course, some Legends are going to be better in arena than they will be in Battle Royale. So are you going to be playing with something that you're comfortable across doing both? And then maybe you get so used to playing with someone in the arena, you start to use them in the Battle Royale. All these different things could play a part. I'm very excited personally for the arena mode, as I'm sure a lot of these Battle Royale players are, because again, it's just a chance to test your gun skill, pure gun skill in a 3v3 fight, and a great way to practice fights, which is something you might necessarily be able to practice too easily.
I thought you were about to hit the first Mortal Kombat reference of the show then and say, test your might. And I was like, oh, Dan, you had such a great opportunity to do so. Oh, and you let it slip through your fingers. But never mind. I'm sure you'll get another opportunity as the games roll on. And we can see where that circle is pulling, though. It's going to be pulling towards where I said a little bit earlier on, where Fire Beavers were located. So it's not going to be on the eastern edge of Geyser. It's going to be a little bit more central to where that building is. We see some teams just fighting outside of Fragment East at the moment, trying to force their way in. But you can see, unfortunately, there for AVG, and they're going to have to work as a 2 against a 3 to try and make any kind of rotation. And here are Scars. This is the team I was talking about, holding down the location I expected them to be holding down inside of this vault tunnel, and just holding out all these teams who are rotating in from the northern side of the map.
See, we move this way.
Yeah, it was kind of the position that they would have had to have taken, considering where they were dropping and where they were looting in the early stages. They have spotted a couple of teams, or a couple of players, excuse me, transitioning towards them, just trying to up that damage, especially Mandy wanting to get towards the purple armor rather than the blue. But they have spotted 2 teams here, so they can now gatekeep and maybe get involved, just be a real nuisance. Just try and eliminate both of these teams, or at least do damage so that they can fight each other, and then maybe they can clean up the pieces. Third Impact also having a little nosy, though, from the upper hill, so they do need to be careful.
And just both teams just holding out these teams on the lower side of things at the moment. You can see our 4 teams who have been eliminated. In RV went out first. Naski, Yuki, and Del, NCO, and of course, Croissant, unfortunately, getting buttered in that fight. So we've got 4 teams eliminated. 16 is still remaining, but a good pace to this first game, Dan. Sorry, excuse me, 15 squads now remaining, as we saw another one just eliminated. As we see now, Kick Esports flying in with the EVA 8. Seaback doing a great job as well, landing shots with the Volts. Can he finish off this kill, though? The bubble fight getting a little bit messy, but the melee will help him out. And now Jakku, as the last player alive, trying to get these downs as well. Seaback looking maybe for the revive, and will be there to do so. So a great job there from Kick, but you can see all sorts of fire going on around them. And there's also a Kraber involved as well. I just saw that peeking out in the kill feed.
Went straight for the res as well. No armor swap. Just wanted to get the res done. Had the gold backpack, so at least they were up to half shield and half health. And with that red coming in, with the circle coming in, they need to make a move and start to push towards the teams that have been holding them back. Scars, of course, are going to be there and waiting, but they can just hold the edge of this circle. It stopped just in time. As elsewhere, Underrated also on the edge of the circle, but have found a little rat waiting along, and it's going to be the Bloodhound taken down, and that's going to be another team eliminated from the server, meaning we're down to just 13. And Underrated were more than happy to pick up that extra KP.
Yeah, really, really aggressive play here. I mean, look at the comp here on Underrated as well. No beacon character being played whatsoever. You've got Octane, Revenant, and Horizon. They will be W keying. Essentially, that is the ultimate W key formation. For me, the Flying V, we're going to call them instead of Underrated in this game, because that is sending out a message with that comp. They want to get points on the board early and really want to upset this lobby. But one team who are trying to play a little bit more of a location-based game here and just trying to survive, to be honest with you, as a 2 are Succubus. You can see just playing around these tree stumps, trying to stay alive. They have lost 1 player, and now Crypt is having to back up into the vault, but we know who's waiting on the other side of this vault. It is going to be Scars, and there is an Arc Star to force them out.
Nice Arc Star, decent shots to follow. He's just going to retreat ever so slightly because it was just a 1 member of Scars, but thankfully Succubus were getting pushed from the other side, so the Gibby will go down. It's all down to the Crypto of Crypt now. Has to try and hit his shots with the Havoc here, but Havoc's not really the weapon you want to be having in this situation of the game. Fire Beavers now will bounce back, take their position just on the far side here of Geyser. And they're in a comfortable spot. And when you were speaking about compositions, and you were speaking about not running a legend that can, of course, scan that beacon and look for the circle location, if you've got a keen eye, you can see when people are rotating and where they're rotating to.
Very, very true. And now we're going to see another fight breaking out here, and this is going to be on the respawn town just to the north of the Vault Tunnel, and it's going to be Third Impact who finally moved down from that choke to finish things off, and now they have a Kraber and a Prowler in the hands of Jazaz. So the man is full of reds right now. The only thing he's missing is, of course, the full red Evo shield, but you have to feel like he might have to hit a Kraber shot here to give them an opening to push into that circle, as it's going to be very, very busy. But only 8 squads actually still alive here in this first game. So all of a sudden in that circle, we've seen a lot of, essentially half the lobby disappear, as we see Scars, making their move now out of the tunnel and trying to find a place to play. Taskmaster up on the high ground, overlooking that exit as well. You've got Kick Esports inside of that building, just at the very top of your screen as well. Underrated, you can see them as well as the zone starts to close now. The question is, where is Third Impact and where is their move going to come from?
I've almost said season like twice. How dare teams abbreviate their team name in the same way? It's just disgusting and not helpful whatsoever. Third Impact have gone down to 2, but they've just been able to get Jazaz back up. But is it going to be for long? Are they going to be able to keep people back, as Fuse currently being played, which already makes me just confused and wondering why. But, you know, I respect it. I respect different legends being used.
Zeki is changing the meta, is what is happening. Or he got to click on his character, which is sometimes what happens in the lobby in the first game. I've been there, don't worry. We've all played Fuse for a game. We know how it goes. But GLL's now going to go up top here. He's still got 4 shots left with this Kraber to try and land one. He saw he narrowly missed that one down the hallway as well. But TI have managed to at least force their way into Geyser here and found themselves somewhere to play. And with that Kraber in hand, if you let one shot off, it certainly shows presence across the area, and no team is going to want to challenge you.
Yeah, it's terrifying when you're going up against a Kraber because you know one shot can completely destroy you in a team fight. And if it's in the right hands, of course, then you will struggle really to push that team. Or if you get pushed by that team and they hit the shot, then that's very scary indeed. But still, down to 8. And I'd say 6 of these 8 teams rotated very early to Geyser. As soon as they saw that circle ball, they were very aware of where this final circle was going to be heading. So they all situated themselves, got themselves nice and cozy, lit up a little campfire, and they waited. One team that's kind of been running around a bit, though, is Fire Beavers. They've got some KP on the board. You can see 5 assists for Sunset. They have been doing some damage in this lobby, and they are taking a little bit of high ground here, but they're not quite in that next circle. So they're just scouting around, gatekeeping a little bit, but they're going to have to push in shortly.
And here comes the move then. 12 seconds until round 5 does close, and we get down to that final zone, which will obviously slowly move in as well, that zone 6. And Honeypot's trying to be really, really clever here and smart with his movement to stay alive. And it looks like they've found these rocks to play as well, and they're going to take height on this building. But as we know, Third Impact are just across where Sunset was looking, so have to be careful not to show too much presence here. Otherwise, that Kraber is certainly going to hit, but nice shots from Sunset are going to back one of the TI members down. Nineimps has managed to get those heals off as well, and look at those shots coming in. GLL, unfortunately, gets decimated by Sunset.
And just before as well, GLL had just hit a Kraber shot onto a Scars member. So after hitting that Kraber shot, he then gets down from across the map. Sunset now getting involved here with the Mastiff. Some good shots, has to avoid the Arc Star. Needs to start traversing these rocks with the rest of the team, but I don't think it's going to work out. Fire Beavers just under immense pressure. Sunset going to be eliminated, down to 6. And we say goodbye to the Fire Beavers.
That's underrated once again, who are just being the definition, the dictionary definition of aggressive so far in this game. Any opportunity they've had to play and be aggressive, they have taken. As now Balong is doing a lot of damage himself now, picked up 2 kills and assists to his name. And GLL has managed to get back onto his feet as well. So the Horizon player is back, and could this be the first time we see a Fuse on a team who closes out a game? That would be something. Semi-finals of the GLL Masters Spring could make history here.
A highly competitive game, we should add, because this lobby is stacked full of some of the best teams, and actually the Fuse ult could be a real problem going into this final circle. So I'm interested to see how this one plays out. 4 squads left. TI certainly in a good position. There's the Kraber shot, just whiffs past the head as Balong has been downed. Are they going to be able to get him back up before they get pushed? No, there is going to be the push now, and you've got to do some work here with the Eva 8 GLL.
Unfortunately, Balong does get finished. There wasn't enough time just to force that player back. And he managed to locate themselves into a position to finish off that kill. You can see the Fuse ult's going to go out on the door as well. So Zeki doing everything he can to change the meta here in Apex Legends, but we're down to our final 3 squads now. Underrated Third Impact and no creativity, and it's underrated again who are being aggressive in these final moments. K-Squinty going to be the last player alive, though, takes to the skies as Horizon, and now going to be pushed himself inside of the building. They hit some nice shots, but unfortunately Third Impact is going to be strong enough and somehow alive long enough to close out game number 1. Somewhat of a surprise for me to see Third Impact's name jump up there as they lost that player towards that final skirmish. But Third Impact make history, Dan. A Fuse just won a game in a highly competitive EU semi-final.
Yeah, I take it all back. The fake pick or the accidental pick, nope, it was entirely on purpose. It was genius. It was a brilliant move. But no, I think it was just more the positioning of Third Impact, how well they transitioned from location to location. They picked their fights correctly. When one of them did go down, they were trying to cover and then going for the res when it was appropriate. We saw Jazaz hitting some big shots with the Kraber. Even though he went down afterwards, he then got quickly picked back up. And I think it kind of helped that the other two teams in that last three just went for one another. They completely had a bubble fight, and TI went, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll just clean up the pieces. But that's what happens sometimes. When there's 3 or 4 teams, everyone starts pushing in when there's a little bit of aggression, when there's a little bit of knocks here or there, and Third Impact just seemed to be in the right place at the right time for that victory.
We're seeing some of the highlights then from this first game as well. 5 Evas who had a very good game themselves. That beam coming in was absolutely disgusting onto Jazaz there. Unfortunately, the recipient of those 301 bullets. But this was a final moment and underrated. I mean, just look at the top right of your screen. You're seeing kills left, right, and center for them. They would have put up a huge amount of points as well as a top 3 finish. But Third Impact, of course, the team who did manage to close out that first game. But I mean, I'm just blown away. The first time I went to Third Impact, I see Fuse. I'm like, that can't be. That is this deliberate? This can't be deliberate. Is it real? And maybe it is real, Dan. Maybe it is real. Maybe we're not giving them enough credit.
Maybe it was entirely intentional. You saw what they tried to do with the fuse ult at the end there, just trying to block the door, making sure they burn some boys when they start to walk out, and then of course that's going to be doing extra damage. It can really kind of zone teams in the final circle. When Fuse was first announced, we thought, okay, this is going to be interesting. He's going to be someone who's going to be used maybe quite a lot because of his late game potential, but unfortunately it's just, he hasn't really got enough to help your team in certain ways. But clearly TI feel like it is going to be a legend that is usable. The amount of grenades you can carry, the extra firepower you've got there, it seemed to work out for them, and we'll see if it pays off for the rest of the tournament.
Well, we're going to go for a quick break now. A game 1 done and dusted. Fuse setting the tone. TI setting the tone in our game 1 with the win. But don't worry, we'll be right back in just a few moments with game number 2.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
Then tell me what you wanna do. Then tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. What you wanna do, you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
Then tell me what you wanna do. Then tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do.
Then tell me what you wanna do. Then tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
You could have had it all. You could have had it all. You could have had it all, but you didn't come right. You didn't come right. Now you wanna go and call me. I'm done praying on you. A queen like me needs more.
Welcome back, everybody, once again to the GLL Masters Spring. Game 1 is done and dusted. We've got 5 more games to bring you today, and Third Impact win game number 1, and not only win it, but win it with Fuse. Now, I'm about to tweet Zeke at the moment and find out if it was deliberate, if he fell on his keyboard, if he dropped his mouse, or if it was a deliberate choice. So, Dan, I'm going to leave this to you for a few seconds while I do a little bit of research. Okay, you good with that?
You do the research. You get in touch.
Investigative journalist.
I think it was a decision that he made, and it was not an accident, and entirely for the reason that I think is the ultimate they believe would help them out in the latter stages of the game. Or maybe he just thought it would be a bit of a meme and thought he would find some success with it. But is the DM been sent?
No, I've put it. It's public.
Oh,
here we go. Look,
wow,
I don't know if you'll be able to focus in on this, but I can tell you what it says. Probably better. I just asked, did you drop your mouse on the floor? So we'll find out in a few seconds, and we'll find out if Fuse was a deliberate pick or if TI accidentally picked him and maybe have discovered what can only be described as some treasures in Fuse. Who knows? Maybe one of those things, Dan. No mistakes, happy accidents.
Grenades are very important in Apex Legends, and it's very frustrating when you're on the receiving end of someone just peppering you with arc stars and whatnot. And what better to do than be able to hold double grenades by having a Fuse on your team? Just say, hey, well, why don't we keep extra room in our bags for meds, and then you carry the grenades? And you know what? Those grenades came in handy.
You're equivalating. Equivalating? That word? It is now.
It is now.
Put it in the dictionary. Equivalating Fuse on TI to someone holding someone's coats and bags going on a roller coaster at a theme park. I respect it. Maybe that is the case. Everybody needs one of those in a group.
They do.
That's true.
They do. It's the same like on a night out as well. Someone just needs to hold the coat, or someone has to drive, Mark. So
someone
that's it.
has
He's
to
the
drive.
driver. He's got the key.
Driver. Fair enough. Well, we're tallying the points up at the moment behind the scenes. We'll get them to you as soon as we possibly can to let you know how it was all divvied up and how many points were actually on the board. But one team that really surprised me with how aggressive they were was Underrated. Every single time we saw them, I mean, that comp itself was crazy aggressive. I think you had Octane, Horizon, and Revenant all on one lineup. There was no going back for them. As soon as they pushed or saw a team, there was no defensive character on that team whatsoever.
It's very frustrating being in a lobby where people are using Revenant, because when you start to get pushed and you see the totem, you're like, oh, for goodness sake, it's wave after wave, and you just have to try and defend as best as you can. And if one of you gets knocked, it becomes very difficult, because you know that the Octane pad is going to be dropped and they're going to be flying right on top of you. But what I touched upon briefly during that first game is that we do see often a lot of teams running these characters that allow you to scan the beacon so you can get the information for the circle. But if you are good enough at the game and you know where people are dropping and you can watch rotates and you obviously get a sniper maybe on your team just so you can look across the map, you will see people rotating in certain ways across the map, and you'll be like, wait, they know something that we don't. And usually what they know is where that circle is going to be going. For that entire game, they would have been saying, hey, there's a lot of teams heading towards Geyser here, let's join them. Or maybe they were just chasing everyone and holding down W key and just happened to end up in Geyser. That's also entirely a possibility.
They killed everyone, and the only people that were left were in Geyser, where the circle actually ended up being. But I think it's interesting. There's been a few examples of it recently where we've seen a few compositions without a beacon character, which is something that was almost, laughable at one point in Apex Legends competitive. You needed to know that zone information in order to have any kind of success. But as we know, times change and playstyles change, and Underrated with that change actually end up top of the leaderboards after game number 1. They're inside that top 3, but 16 kills, I think, says everything you need to know about how they played there, Dan. 25 points in total.
Yeah, that is a absolute mammoth game from Underrated, and they are going to be delighted with the amount of kills they were able to pick up. And I think the rest of the lobby is going to be shoring themselves up a little bit now and saying, okay, well, we've got one of those teams in our lobby that is just going to be running at us. They are going to be looking for those third parties. They do have that Revenant ult, which is going to be a bit of a nuisance, but delightful for Underrated. Not only were they getting those kills, but they also got a good placement. And if they can carry on with that kind of form and that kind of aggression working out for them, then they can be, one of those teams that's going to be up there throughout the entirety of this tournament. But it'll be whether they have one of those bad games, where they do push a team and it isn't successful and suddenly things go wrong and all those points that they had gathered in the early stages suddenly start to fade away.
And you look at the other side of things, Scar's not the greatest of games from them, and they were in a good position as well, which is somewhat of a surprise for me to see them down in 12th position. You have Na'Vi, who unfortunately did lose that fight off drop. They did manage to pick up 1 kill along the way, but Natsuki, Yuki, and Dell as well, not getting a point on the board. A little bit disappointing for them. Reply Esports as well, Totem Esports, not getting a point on the board. So some of our bigger teams already coming out the gates a little bit slow, but as we know, it's a long, long way to go here. 12 games, 6 today, 6 tomorrow. Time to reflect, time to change things up as we head into game 2. One thing I love about the GLL Masters tournament is that I jinxed it. I was about to say, we get into game after game after game, and the admin heard me. Do you know what? Right. I'm sorry, everybody. That's on me. That's on me. That's on me.
There's 2 things that Mark isn't allowed to do on an Apex broadcast. One is start to say, we're getting into game. The second one is going into a listening. Because if you don't know, behind the scenes, Onset often asks for listenings in ALGS championships, for example, and the listening is either
I'm going to
doesn't work,
this in a second,
or they say nothing, and it's just no.
I'm given a list of teams wildcasting to listen into, and I will pick one, and whenever we go to it, that's what you'll hear, essentially, just the radio silence, or I have a shield bat. It's a running joke, but at this point, it's not a joke. It's just sad, really, isn't it? But we'll get into the game again as soon as we can. Unfortunately, you can see just a little bit of a restart there on the lobby to make sure that all the players are happy, all the players are feeling good. Maybe Zeke just forgot to pick Fuse, something like that. Who knows? Maybe he's going to run it again, and maybe he's going to put some more points on the board. But shit, I just forgot as well. Hold up. Yes, I was right. Okay, so investigative journalism has paid off. And I'm happy to update everyone here that Zeke has come in and said he was pubbing with Horizon and forgot to pick Wraith. So I'm imagining that he will be playing Wraith in the next game. It wasn't a drop of the mouse, but see, maybe I can't call listening, Dan, but I get results.
I mean, there's me trying to justify it and be like, yeah, Fuse is quite good. He can carry grenades. His endgame capabilities. And they're like, yeah, I've just picked him by accident. Maybe if I'm TI right now, I'm carrying on with Fuse. I'm carrying that momentum. It just struck fear into the rest of the lobby when that circle of fire arrived on the map. Everyone was like, Jesus, who's playing Fuse?
Yeah, it's just shock. It's just like, what's this? I haven't seen this before. This is new. This is exciting. This is terrifying. All of those sort of things go through your mind. But also, I think if I played Fuse, I would go with what you did. I would go with a shotgun so that I can have like minimal ammo in my inventory, and then I don't know, maybe just like a 301 or something, and then just nades. I wouldn't carry any meds. I'd tell my teammates just to carry meds, and then I would get as close to final circle as possible and literally just vert nade, just sky nade constantly towards the end. I think that is what Fuse is. I might have just broken Apex Legends. I might have just invented the new meta. I'm going to try that later tonight, and I'll report back. Journalism,
trying to
on-site reporting. And I'll bring the answers to you tomorrow, okay?
Can you imagine trying to cast a final circle where there's a Fuse on 6 of the teams and all you just hear is and there's just arc stars going off everywhere, the vision's impaired, there's suddenly fire raining down, everyone's stuck in a little mini fire circle. It would be great, but it would also be very difficult to try and follow.
Yeah, it'd be testing on the eyes for sure. It's certainly it would be a test. You know what? I like tests as a caster. I think that we could get through it, Dan. I think if we could say the word "there's carnage" enough, by the time that the smoke has settled, then we should be able to actually call what has happened. Are you sure that's not someone behind you, by the way? I know you told me that it's not, but it does look like someone's just hunched over. It looks like you made them stand in the corner.
Shh. Leave
I'm concerned. Chat, right. If anyone's watching right now, let me know if you're as concerned as I am, because I'm willing to phone someone to check if send someone round.
He's having a nap. Okay,
fair enough.
I politely asked. I
That's what it is.
Yeah, and I said I want someone to model this Apex Legends hoodie for me. It's about 4 hours. I'll pay, I don't know, a couple of quid per hour. And this guy, you know, he was up for it. So here he is.
Silent as well. No trouble.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Great.
Not a problem.
Nice.
It's great to see. Well done. It's got a bit of a posture issue, but, you know, haven't we all? We're all gamers. Well, we're still waiting to get into the second game, ladies and gents. Sorry that we've got to keep flapping our gums and keeping you entertained, hopefully, before we get into this second game. But I mean, let's talk a little bit about those games. We mentioned that, you know, there's some of the teams not having the best of first games. Sometimes that can happen. But the one surprise for me was Natsuki, Yuki, and Del being caught off guard in that choke. It's a position they would have held, you know, 100 times before. But the fact that they got walked up on so easily just shows that maybe they were a little bit too split in that choke, and one of the players was able to get picked off.
I think, it was just a case of maybe overconfidence. Like, they were taking a little distance fight. They probably thought they can do a bit of damage, get their Evo shields up a little bit, and then suddenly, bam! One of them's down. You go for the Gibby res, but it's too late. In this current meta of Apex Legends, it's very difficult to get back someone up when you are having aggressive teams in your lobby. The Octanes, the Revenants, whatever it may be, they are definitely going to be hunting you as soon as they've got that knock. And that was the situation. And one of our most aggressive teams was Underrated, of course. And I was looking at their previous rounds, whether they had the same success, whether they were finding the same sort of KP. And to be honest, even though they got through 4th in the round of 80, so the previous to the semi-finals, they didn't find any big KP games. I think the most KP they got in any game was 8. And okay, that's not too bad, but that's certainly not the KP game that we've just seen from them there. So I wonder whether they've kind of learned from their experience in the previous rounds and thought, hey, we can actually pick up some serious KP here if we just start running at teams who are kind of going to be looking to rotate or looking to get into that circle.
And we'll have to find out if it keeps working for them. Sometimes when you play a little bit of a, what should we call it? A little bit of a mix-up comp, so to speak, something that isn't traditional as far as teams are concerned who are in the, you know, the upper echelons of Apex Legends in Europe. It can be more effective because you know how those teams are going to play, you know where they're going to be rotating, and you can kind of use that comp to be aggressive and catch them off guard. So maybe Underrated kind of just thinking outside of the box a little bit, or maybe just, you know, just trying to run down people. It's one of those things, isn't it? We can overanalyze sometimes, and sometimes it might just be a case of they just had a lot of 3v3 fights and they won them because they had such an aggressive comp. But I'm hearing that we've got less than a minute getting into the game now. We're just waiting for the final players to join back in. Apologies for the delay, as we want to get into the games as soon as possible, as do you, of course, and we will do that as soon as we possibly can. I mean, it's not our fault, you know what I mean? It's not our fault. You can't blame us. Do you know what? Actually, blame us. Blame us. Blame Dan.
Blame him.
Especially.
No, blame. Why do I get the blame? No, it's not my fault.
I don't know. Like,
it's not fair.
I mean, the chat needs someone to blame, and I'm willing to be the scapegoat. Well, good news, everybody. Let's try and introduce the second game once again, and hopefully we do not see that wonderful admin has stopped the game and restarted it. But, you know, it looks like we're good. All right, I'm going for it. Here we go, ladies and gents. Game 2 is underway of the GLL Masters Spring. We're going to start off, of course, with the team that won our game number 1, Third Impact, and disappointing from Ziki not to see him on the Wraith, Dan.
Not to see him on the Fuse, but he is playing.
Not to see him on the Fuse now.
There we go. I'm upset. I think part of my inner heart that loves Fuse, which is a complete lie, is slightly broken here because I wanted to see some sort of meta shift in everyone going, maybe we should be playing Fuse as well. But alas, that's not going to be the situation. You're going to go back to normality here as we had a quick look at the toilet there, and maybe that was the thought process of Fuse as well. But there's going to be the circle then. It's going to be northwest circle. It's going to be towards Lava Fissure. And you can see already the teams who are dropping in that situation and that direction are going to be in a more comfortable spot than those who are dropping on the southeastern side, for example. So they're going to have a long old way to what seems like a familiar circle that we've seen a lot of times in the ALGS.
Yeah, you could see a little bit of a fight going on here as well, and we are going to be able to jump into that in just a second. It's going to be Bad Nades who are on the receiving end of a little bit of damage right now. Neki going to be forced to go into the void momentarily as Mr. Rage Quitier, and the full pronunciation right on that one, really.
Quitier.
Quitier. Yep. Oh, yours is better than mine.
He might just be a rage quitter, but, you know, he just wanted to put a little bit of pizzazz on it, which is understandable.
It's a little bit of flair. That's what we love to see. We only had 5 bullets in the Spitfire to actually engage in that fight. So Dead Inside trying to run down these final 2 players. And it looks like there's actually a couple of teams around the area now. So Dead Inside have got to be more careful than they would have been initially as far as chasing down these final kills. So you can see the wingman in hand here, just trying to see if they can see any poking heads popping up. Unfortunately not. Now they're going to rotate and they're going to hold this building.
Na'Vi have just gone down as first team eliminated again. Off screen, but I saw it in the kill feed. And that's 2 games in a row. They are dead last and losing their fight off drop. And twice in a row, that's when you start to lose a little bit of confidence. And you have to go with, are we going to keep doing this? Are we going to keep challenging this team? Or do we look to try and find somewhere else to go? But of course, when you've been so used to rotating in your own way, you are going to be pushing that direction. Another team who was eliminated early was Nasky, Yuki, and Del. And they were having a little creep up on the team here. But unfortunately, that creeping has not gone too well for them. They're going to have to back off from this fight.
Yeah, nice idea from Nasky to try and creep up and use that cover the head glitch advantage to see if they could pick off the kill on the player that was just on the crafting station trying to craft. And I'm just looking across as well, and look at this. We've got a Wraith, we've got a Horizon, and we've got Gibraltar. So one thing that's almost fascinating to me here is one of historically our quickest rotating teams who built themselves off of the early meta of dropping frag east and getting quickly to zone as fast as they possibly could are running a beaconless composition. And that to me is a real surprise, especially for this lineup.
It screams circle knowledge and knowing where circles tend to transition once you've seen that initial circle and the large radius that gets a little bit smaller. Because a lot of these teams have got spreadsheets, they know where all the circles are, they know where, usually by that second scan, where that final circle is going to be. But also, it's just having the confidence to run across the map and take some fights and not wanting to sacrifice either Wraith or Horizon, because they're both so fantastic in certain situations. Like, Horizon's ultimate can win you fights. Wraith, of course, can go into the void and can sometimes win you games, depending in the situation that you might find yourself. The portal can be very important for transitioning, especially if you're not running an Octane, because Octane, that bounce pad, is going to help you push teams and get in and out of fights very quickly, which is something that Wraith initially did. Then, of course, with the changes to Octane's launch pad, things got a little bit different and everyone started to move over to Octane instead.
Well, NCD are going to be trying to force their way into Countdown at the moment. You can see them rotating from the train side of the map. Unfortunately, going to be scanned here, so Dolphin has to be very, very careful. He's going to put the bounce pad down to get out of dodge and hit that double jump to make his way across to this little upper level. And it's going to be up to him to hold here for Nags to make that climb up as well, and he does so. So Badoli, Nags, and Dolphin all making their way through. And they will be safe for now. You can see they've managed to get into that position inside in the building, inside a Countdown, where they will be safe for now. So a nice rotation from them. And the team that was shooting them across is once again Fire Beavers, who have done a really good job to find themselves in a comfy position.
Yeah, comfy. They're kind of sitting back, putting their feet up, but they said, actually, you know what? We want to spread our wings a little bit. And they are on their merry way now, and they're going to look to position themselves somewhere elsewhere and head towards Train Yard, or just to the right of Train Yard, should I say, as they start to look to maybe get closer to that circle. They didn't fancy taking a fight in Countdown, and there had been enough shots for their liking, and perhaps were worried that some people would be joining them in that area, as Train Yard is also currently occupied. Those train carts, high ground it does give you, if it finishes in those kind of areas, you can be in such an advantageous position, but rotating out of them sometimes, less fun.
69 IQ Esports currently just playing right on the edge of zone here. You can see, I think they might be trying to chase down a few kills, and you can see the team is scurrying away inside of lava, and they're going to have to be careful here, because even though they're chasing across, they're going to have to try and beat them to this high ground. And it looks like Slayers is going to be going in, and he's going to be beaming the Gibby in the back as well. The only problem is he needs to get this knock. He does so, and his teammates join at just the right time. So a big push on the edge of zone here, going to be successful for 69 IQ Esports, and they will have the loot to play with as well.
Yeah, that's going to be 2 downs, 2 KP, 1 escapee. As I say that, we've also seen another team just get taken out in the kill feed, down to 18 squads. As Smeggy Toe has a little look around to see if anyone is still going to be in the area. There's a little bit of a battle going down. Fire Beavers have managed to rotate their way in, but they are under a lot of pressure here. Taskmaster having to back down. Almost left himself flat-footed and slipped onto his own bounce pad, which would have left him in a very tricky spot, but we've all been there when you're suddenly caught with your pants down mid-air.
Would have been one of those unfortunate circumstances, as we like to call them in the commentary desk. Well, Fire Beavers now, as you say, made that rotation from inside of Countdown now to Lava Fissure, and this is where I believe that the zone will be ending up towards the very western side of the map. They're going to have to do a little bit of rotating soon when that circle does close, and they won't be happy for now. But look at those shots coming in from Taskmaster. 106 just peeling the player off of that head glitch. The 301 showing its value. Not only at medium range, but that sort of medium to long range as well is so devastating. And then you can see them just piling up these armor swaps as well. It's like a little tuck shop for armors inside that building.
And did you see the team that was eliminated in 17th place? It was underrated. So after an incredible first game with an amazing amount of kills, you can see the highs and lows of playing an aggressive team. You can very much struggle in the next game if it doesn't go right for you. So even though they were top of the leaderboard after game 1, they're probably not going to be top of the leaderboard after game 2. Instead, maybe we'll see some consistency from other teams, as here we have a lonely little rat.
Now, you might have thought, and quite rightly so, that that was a bush. That you would have been misinformed, my friends, as bad nades still have one player alive, and it's going to be Neka, who is that player. Disguised, camouflaged, Cena-esque. Skin did work quite nicely.
Yeah, a nice little grey. I think he's purposely like a Charmeleon tried to find somewhere. And now, have I just combined a Pokemon with a real-life animal? I may have just done that.
I was so proud of myself there, because normally I jump on that and I will call you out on it almost immediately. What are you talking about? It's chameleon, but you did it yourself. You self-policed, and for that, I'm proud of you.
I like Pokemon. They're great. But there's some issues going on in this area in the moment, because there's so many people trying to transition to Lava Fissure. They know it's going to be this next circle. There's not much room to play with in Lava Fissure, so you want to get one of those buildings early on. But then, once you arrive late, you're going to have to kind of either go down low or hold a little bit of high ground on the ridges, but that leaves you exposed to people rotating in later than you as well. For example, New Esports holding that building you can see just south of that green circle. It's great for now, but all those teams that are kind of southern than them at the moment, they're all going to be rolling up and trying to take that place off them. And it's going to be a very difficult situation for them with all the teams ahead of them on the northern side. So that is looking a pretty deadly area right now with the amount of teams that have already found themselves in.
Yeah, forcing their way in from the southern side going to be very difficult. One team that is looking in a very good position, to be honest with you, is actually Naski, Del, and Yuki, who currently have complete control of Skyhook. There's no other teams around them. There's no other teams on the northern side of the map completely, and it looks like Yuki's actually going to be going up to the top of Trials here and making a late rotation in from the north. So I kind of like this play coming in from GYD, just being a little bit unpredictable with their rotation and changing things up a little bit and finding themselves in a pretty good position with how everyone else has made their rotation. But they're still going to have to fight their way through, of course. You can see that Avant-Garde are up on that eastern side of the western side, excuse me, of the circle, right in the deep pocket. And they'll have to force their way through there. If they go towards Countdown, they're of course going to have the likes of Dolphin, Bodoli to work their way through as well. So decisions to be made here, but you can also see right at the bottom right of your screen, a team just making their way through the train tunnel towards Train Yard. That is going to be Scars, and they will be in for a little bit of resistance here from that team up in the tracks.
Yeah, that's what the team in the tracks was waiting for as well. This whole time they've been sat there for the majority of the game. They're hoping to pick off some KP and be able to stop any teams pushing in. It's going to be No Creativity, who are waiting up top here. They are slightly split, excuse me, as I spit. But they should be able to rain down some hell onto Scars below them. And I did see how Yuki was trying to transition around the whole map, but with a little scouting mission earlier. He does need to be careful. But certainly Naski, Yuki, and Del are in a good spot in their position as well. But Scars have spotted these teams, well, this team, excuse me, who are in Train Yard. So they're going to be well aware. They're not going to get caught off guard. There's not going to be any sort of ambush. And if we know Scars, they're going to be more than happy to take a fight if it presents itself to them.
I'm trying to move in now. Trying to get underneath this team above them. Maybe getting RPR in a position to use that Horizon gravitational lift and then the black hole to force that team out, it would be a very easy wipe for them if they did manage to get some nades in there at the same time as the black hole going down. But you can see Taishin taking a lot of damage as well. Mandy trying to do what he can to just do some damage to stop that team from looking down. You can see the GLL is going to go down as well, which is going to force RPR and Taishin just to stay put for now. Mandy's still trying to poke and prod with that charge rifle. So you can see this battle's kind of elongated, but you can see the steps being taken here by Scars to try and force themselves into a good position, as we can see damage done by Mandy now, which could initiate that push.
Yeah, methodically just trying to place themselves as best as they can to get ready for a potential push, but it looks like no creativity are going to be the team actually engaging, get a little bit aggressive, but as they do that, Scars then take the high ground off them. Some good shots coming out from the Spitfire though. Taishin gets the final pick of the pieces with the wingman, and the first knock goes to Scars.
And they noticed that their team was split as well, so they decided as soon as that happened that they had the ability to move up and three-man push that player, and now all of a sudden, look at this, it was perfect. We could see the play developing there from Scars Europe, and it was executed as well. That's the thing, isn't it? We always talk about the plan and the execution. Well, A+ for both there, full marks coming in for Scars.
That's why when we first noticed them in the train tracks, and I said they're a little bit split, you've got to be careful if you leave yourself vulnerable. You need a plan B just in case one person is singled out like that. So fantastic play from Scars to acknowledge where that player was, have the game plan, and as you say, actually executing that game plan. And now they have all of train yards themselves, but they still are going to have to move into this circle, and they're going to be just behind, following in the footsteps of 69 IQ as Smegito makes his way across the map. I almost said it without laughing.
Almost, but almost didn't. And it's understandable why. Well, 40 seconds until they have to make their move. You can see the defensive bombardment's going to be going in here for Scars, or forcing Scars back, I should say, and they're going to have to make their way across this open ground here, so a difficult rotation for them to make. But if they manage to get some points on the board here and inside of a top 5 finish, it will be a very, very strong performance coming in from Scars, considering their rotation from Overlook all the way across the map to where this circle looks like it will be ending up, because we can see another fight going in. Look at this. You can see the jump pad coming in as well. 9imps, Taskmaster, and Sunset trying to get involved. That is going to be Fire Beavers. We talked about how they like to be aggressive. Well, they're trying to be aggressive once more.
Crypto also coming in to get involved as well, just to do some damage, push those team backs, weaken those teams, make them use resources. The team there on the receiving end of it did portal out, but it looks like now they're transitioning back to try and get re-involved in this fight, so I don't think this one is over just yet. As now Scars Europe are going to be moving in. They're also going to be in a position to have a little look around in this fight and just try and get into a position where they can survive at the moment. RPR under some real fire here, tries to bat but needs to find a position comfortably to do so. Doesn't seem like he's able to do though. And there's the portal. Someone wants to get involved on this fight.
I was just about to say this is a brilliant rotation, but it looks like everybody had eyes on it, and Scars Europe, unfortunately, trying to force their way in, will be forced out of the game. And once again, it's Fire Beavers. They portaled in and tried to take that position at almost exactly the same time that Scars did, and it was them who came out on top initially. But now you can see that other teams have realized how desperately important this position is to try and get hold of, so they're pushing in as well. And now Aquilix White trying to force their way into a 1v3 and win the fight. Unfortunately, they will be taken down, and it's Totem Esports are in position to clean up the fight.
Yep, gold backpack as well, so at least Amaz can be picked up, and he's going to be at a decent health total, so they should be able to fight off if there were anyone else joining the fight, but I don't think anyone wants to get involved. There's already been enough carnage, and everyone else has already positioned themselves in that next circle, except Third Impact have not done just that. Our winners of the first game of these semi-finals, now with a Wraith instead of a Fuse. How it's going to work out, Zeki is going to almost go down, but escapes, doesn't have to queue, and now needs the support of the rest of the team here. They need to try and regroup and regather so they can take this fight together.
Yeah, Zeki would have killed them all if he was playing Fuse. As simple as that. Unfortunately, he forgot to pick Fuse in this game and is on the Wraith. No, I'm obviously joking. Hopefully, he didn't have to point that out to some people, but you know, you never know. And now T1 going to decide to rotate away from this. G7 Dolphins going to be looking down over them. TSM's coach, of course, to see if he can do a little bit of damage as they're trying to force their way away. And this is a good play coming in from him as well. Just really just doing damage with that turbocharged Havoc as well, forcing TI down underneath. And if they can get some nades in there, then they might have a little bit of success to play with. And this is really, really interrupting this rotation that TI are trying to make here.
You know, if they had a Fuse, maybe they could get some nades in there, because he'd be carrying them. because he is the car driver. But now, TI, they want to get involved. Jazaz is going to go right up with the horizon. Balong's going to be the last to join the fight. Jazaz got very weak as he pushed up, and now Dolphin's going to get involved as well. And I think this is going to be difficult for TI to try and survive. Ziki has gone down and will be eliminated from the game. That's going to be the second Balong going down as well. And NCD, they are wiping TI, our previous winners. But is there an escapee? Has someone survived? It looks like there is going to be one member of TI who has been able to run off and get away, but how far can you get when you've got an Octane chasing you?
That's a very good question, but how far do you want to chase as well? That's the question here for NCD. See, Nags is going to be popping a battery just to make sure that he can get up to a full complement of health, and now they're readying their assault onto this hillside house just over the other side. You can see Lava Fish are very, very busy at the moment. Nags now joining his two teammates, and this is going to be a straight 3v3 inside of this building. See, Dolphin's going to take the height, so it looks like they won't be taking the fight for now. They're just going to be happy with taking that position, and it was actually Jazaz who managed to get out from third impact. So even though two of his teammates did go down, you called it absolutely right. Trying to make a late rotation in behind these teams and find any kind of safe position to play. And if either of these teams fight, well, it'll be placement points going to him.
Yeah, dead inside though. Have done some damage. Did throw down the Gibby ult just to try and push back the team above them from being able to get aggressive and get involved. And they know they're in a good spot just holding this building. They're reluctant to push out unless they do some real damage here. So they are biding their time. They want to ensure that they don't end up dead inside this building.
Well, both teams are going to have to move, and the good thing here for Jazaz is, as you can see just on the very top right of your screen, he's just kind of sneaking through. He's letting this battle engage itself, and it's going to be Nox either side. That's going to allow Jazaz now to make a rotation through. He's not going to be too worried about this fight. Actually, he looks like he's going to come and get involved. So as Nags wins the fight, here comes Jazaz, and it's revenge for TI. As he says, hello, boys, welcome to the party. And comes in and finishes off that fight. 5 kills, and also, you can see he is the Apex Predator in the lobby as well. 5 kills to his name, and he's going to have a Prowler to work with as well. So that is the importance, like we mentioned, sometimes of finding that final player, taking them out of the game, because otherwise, it can come back to bite you.
Does he have a respawn beacon, is the real question. Has the banners of his two teammates, and could potentially bring them back, because there's a lot of action inside Lava Fisher, but I don't know if there's a team in a position to directly challenge him if he is able to respawn the two. Because anyone who pushes out is suddenly going to be challenged, and as I say that, Jazaz had a little peek and suddenly got triple taked from across the map. He is going to have to move in ever so slightly. This circle's coming in, and I think there's going to be a team above him when he does move in as well.
You can see two teams on top of each other there. It's going to be GYD and Kick. The zone starts to move now as well, and GYD are going to be forced out of that position, as are Kick above them, but they're both safe for now. It does make their exit options very, very limited here. GYD down on that low ground. You can see in the background as well, Crypto is going to pop the bubble of the Gibby as well. So that team is trying to do everything they can on the outside of the map to stay alive. New Esports now moving up just to try and portal in and see if they can get a little bit of damage done and maybe pick up some KP along the way. Kick Esports kicking up some kills in the feed as well, as Plusher does go down. And Roger Bodger just trying to do what he can here on the Wraith to get some angles. And he just can't see through that Caustic goal.
Cannot see a thing. That's where a Digi threat would be very useful indeed. Avantgarde down to just 1, but maybe a res is possible. I think Jazaz was still alive as well. I saw him, he was able to creep under a few teams. So fantastic work from him as Naski, Yuki and Del. They're also in a spot of bother. Phoenix Kit going to be popped. Needs support from the rest of the team. They do have time to work with here. I wonder where they've seen Jazaz. I'm fairly certain Jazaz was very close to them. If he hasn't been eliminated already, I'll keep an eye on the kill feed just in case. And Naski, Yuki, and Del, they need to focus on this team that's just above them, just trying to do some shots through the window. No nades to work with at the moment.
Well, that damage is going to hurt here, not only because Yuki obviously is going to be hurt as far as HP is concerned, but that zone's going to be moving. And I just wonder if he's going to be able to get those heals off in time before that rotation comes in. I don't know how Jazaz has managed to find his way into this position right on the low ground. And now you're going to have Naski, Yuki, and Del, all 3 of them drop. And look, Jazaz is just a ghost at the moment. They have not seen him. He is showing perfect trigger discipline as well. And Jazaz has just taken down Del.
He got 1, but unfortunately could not get any more by the looks of things. So Jazaz with a valiant effort won't get the KP. Yuki tries to get the res. Instead, someone's going to steal that KP, and it's going to be TTM, who are already down low here. They finish off the rest of Naski, Yuki, and Delt. New Esports have some high ground. It looks like they've just lost a player, and TTM now, they are going to be scaling these rocks to try and join the fight.
And here they come. Now, Mal's unfortunately going to be taken down here. We're down to our final 2 squads, and it's going to be Sharp on the Gibraltar, who unfortunately runs into a full squad who literally kick him out of the game. Kick Esports will take your game number 2. The worst possible sight as the last player to climb up a sheer cliff face is 3 players mid-air going full Mortal Kombat. There we go. There's a reference for you and saying, get over here. And other Mortal Kombat stuff that I've now forgotten as my brain stopped. But Kick Esports, the winners of your game number 2. I mean, impressive for them to hold that high ground towards the end game. It's usually where it ends up, as we see, between those 2 houses, and a great positioning from them. But I think the real story is the lack of fuse. No, the real story, of course, is the fact that TI, the winners of our first game, did such a good job just as to get into a position to at least have some sort of influence on that end game.
Yeah, Jazaz would have picked up KP when he third-partied that team and also got into, top 6, I think? But it was Kick who, after getting in the top 3 in the first game, have now found themselves winning the second. So I think they're going to be near first, if not taking a first, potentially, or at least getting close to Underrated, who dropped out very early in our game 2. But teams like Fire Beavers also tried to show the same aggression. We saw some great plays from Naski, Yuki, and Dell to get into a position where they were in the final, 6 or 7 as well. The game had a little bit of everything. There were certainly slow periods, but it was enjoyable to see the story of some teams transition across the map, especially TI and Jazaz in the end, just trying to rat out. And it was how he managed to get from kind of the southern side to the northern side. I don't know how he avoided everyone and how he went unnoticed, but he seemed to have some sort of invisibility cloak. He did very well.
Yeah, he did amazingly well to get into that position and to pick up some extra points. But it is Kick Esports who take home your game number 2. We're going to take a few seconds now to tally up the scores so we can get the leaderboards ready for you. So that means we're going to go for a quick break, but when we get back, don't worry, scores and game 3 coming your way.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Show me the money. Show me the money. Yeah. 'Cause it feels good right now. Yeah. Gotta show me the money. Yeah. Come on. Never been around wealth, now I'm surrounded. Nice cars at the mansion right next to the fountain. CEOs in business suits and private accountants. Yeah. Summertime parties by the pool, we lounging. Then by night we out stunting on the main strip. Out of state trips, cars with the paint drip. How could you hate this? Jewelry in my chain sit. That's the life I wanna live. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Lifestyle. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle. Yeah. Come on. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Never have to worry if I have enough dough. Fashion show out in Paris in the front row. Party every night, I don't have time to sleep. Next day is the same, just rinse and repeat. Summertime trips on the yacht to the island. Squad rolling with me and we do a lot of wildin'. A bottle of whatever you want, just put your order in. You can have as much as you want, there's plenty more of them. Yeah, show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle.
Welcome back, everybody, once more. Game 2 is done and dusted, and we're almost at the halfway point now as Game 3 lies ahead of us here for the GLL Masters Spring. 2 different winners from our first 2 games and 2 different zones over 2 sides of the World's Edge as well. We've had some surprises. We've had some not surprises. We've had Fuse win a game. We've had crazy rat plays. And as I say, only 2 games have gone down, and you've got a party kicking off in your place. Anything to tell us?
Oh, is that Marvin again? Yeah, he's having a little DJ session. It's fine. We allow him to do whatever he wants to do. But there's the scoreboard then for game number 2. Kick taking the top spot, 20 points total, 12 placement and 8 kills. Reply Totem also picking up some decent amount of points. Third Impact still finishing in 4th, despite, of course, losing 2 of those players in the earlier scenario. So a really, really well played from Jazaz to be able to get to those latter stages and pick up KP.
Yeah, incredibly impressive for them to find themselves in that position. Na'Vi, unfortunately, not at the end of the table they would want to be, and going to have to pick it up, certainly, and hope that they can either win the contention off of drop, or if they can maybe think about changing it up if it isn't going their way. This is the total leaderboards, of course, after 2 games. You can see Kick with that win in the last game, and the KP have gone up to first. Underrated quite in the last game, but still holding on to second place. Third Impact, no surprise to see them inside of the top 3. But it's all about the top 10. Remember, this is just the semi-finals, and you're seeing the likes of Scars, dead inside, Naski, Yuki, and Gel, and Na'Vi, all outside of that top 10, Dan. 2 games already gone.
Yeah, and that's what you're going to be looking at. If you're in the bottom 10, you're going to be looking at how many points does 10th place have. Am I going to be able to catch up, for example? And for a team like Underrated, they had an amazing game 1. They didn't get any points, or at least they got very minimal points in game 2. But you can see how important it is that they were able to have that huge game 1. And the composition, the aggressive composition they were playing, just allowed them to push themselves so far up the leaderboard. They already put themselves in a good chance of finishing within top 10 if they can just keep fighting those games every now and then.
Well, this is the other semi-final that's going on as well. Not on broadcast today, but the games are running parallel. So you can see how things are looking at the total leaderboard after that second game. T-Rex top of the pile here. Gambit in 2nd. Nessie down in 4th. You've got Alliance in 7th. Just looking outside of that top 10 to see if there's any real surprises here. Let's see the France, not the hottest of starts from them, but some of the bigger names you can see inside of that top 10. And Solo Q Goats, of course, inside of that top 10. Hashtag free Shiv.
That's exactly what I was thinking, what everyone is thinking right now, I think. But we won't see Shiv on our screens today. But I'm sure that with the way they're playing at the moment, Solo Q Goats, they are just in that top 10. And hopefully they can get their way towards the final. And maybe we'll see Shiv back on our screens then on set.
Oh, hopefully so. I mean, I miss him already. I miss that man. He's a wonderful streamer. And hopefully he'll be back soon. I'm sure he will. I'm looking forward to that indeed. And something else I'm looking forward to, Dan, it's game 3, which is just around the corner. We're hearing this is just a few moments away from getting started as well. And even though this is something we were talking about during the North American semi-finals, even though, we say it's a longer, well, it is. It's 12 games, right, across 2 days. The semi-final gives you a chance to find your form, to adjust mistakes, etc. The first 2 games really did still set the tone for how the leaderboards looked at the end of the tournament. So for teams who are outside of the top 10 already, especially teams like Na'Vi, you need to make these changes earlier. You need to be proactive rather than reactive. And I wonder if they're going to contest once more here and see if they win it, and then after that change, or if they try and be a little bit more proactive and say, look, we've got 2 games now where we haven't got any points. There's got to be other POIs we can pick up and work from. Let's make that change now.
Yeah, and that's what can happen with this format, really, is that if you are one of the teams who has a big game 1 or 2, you set yourselves up where you can say, okay, well, we've got a lot of points, we've got a lead, we can maybe be a little bit more patient and we can look to rotate. We don't have to be too aggressive in certain situations. Whereas for a team like Na'Vi, the longer it goes on where they are at the bottom of that leaderboard, they're going to be thinking, we need a massive game here, which might make them make dodgy plays. They might get too aggressive in certain situations. They might rotate poorly because they're thinking too much about KP, for example. So you can set yourself up for success with a lot of points in the early couple of games, as it's going to be a somewhat similar circle. It's a little bit further east than it was previously towards Lava Fissure, so that is going to be more beneficial for the teams dropping epicenter area, for example, TI, who have the entirety of the northeastern side of the map. And it also should benefit Scars ever so slightly as well. They can get towards that next circle, but there is a lot of open ground in this circle, so it's not going to be as easy for all these teams to transition and take some high ground or take some buildings. Train Yard is going to be maybe a spot for Na'Vi to try and reside. As you can see, they are not going to be contested off drops. Max is going to be on his own a little bit, but at least they haven't died straight away.
Well, there is going to be one team who's going to be dying straight away here, and you can see the 69 IQ Esports involved in a fierce fight, and unfortunately these wingman shots aren't going to be hitting initially. He was only one away from maybe winning that fight. But it will be Reply Totem Esports who come in and do manage to win the battle here early on. And that's going to be very, very important from them. Launch site will be theirs once again. I think that's not just the first time we've seen that. I think it's the second or third time we've seen them win that fight so far. Unfortunately, 69 IQ. Come on, I've known Alphabet for a long time now. Will indeed fall in that fight. But Avant-Garde now going to be beating a player on that zip line. And the Spitfire, combined with a little bit of team fire, is going to be enough to drop that player.
Mr. Rage Quit there. Goes down and will be eliminated off the server. Could not get away. I think it was a Gibby. If you're mid-air zipping as a Gibby, you are a sitting duck. You are just going to be absolutely railed from the rest of the teams, which is what we just saw. And now Avant-Garde can have a little loot around, and they should be able to comfortably loot as well, because it doesn't look like there's going to be anyone else contesting them at this point. So should be able to get a decent amount of weaponry, as Kick are going to be the closest team to them. But Denze might be walking into a little bit of trouble. The last member of ISN, I think, is just around on Trials area. But here's Na'Vi. After a horrible first 2 games, Mark, they are under a little bit of pressure again here.
Yeah, got to be careful. The one issue with landing over at Train, even though it's a smart thing to... Oh, nice shot there coming in from Kuya. One of my favorite players to watch as far as mechanical and individual ability is concerned. Gets the knock there with the 30-30 repeater. Is Trainyard maybe not the best of loot pools as far as every other POI is concerned. That's why you see it open quite a lot of time, but you can see that from the armors, unfortunately, the Na'Vi have had to leave with. But with the 30-30 repeater in hand, and with someone like Kuya with the aim that he has, only 25 points away from leveling up to a blue Evo. And you can see him now just moving in, trying to see if he can get a little bit more damage onto that knock, maybe finish it off, and then get that blue Evo shield for his team.
I don't know, fairly certain I saw something where, correct me if I'm wrong, did I see Season 9 there introducing you drop with white shields now and with a white helmet, and white stuff is being removed from the loot pool? I don't know whether that's just going to be a daily game mode or whether that's going to be the actual competitive game mode, but that would be interesting to see whether that will change people's ideas of where they want to drop, or maybe they feel like they might be able to drop in certain situations a little bit more comfortable because they will have that armor from the drop and they won't be as weak. All these different dynamics, all these things that might change with patches coming forward, but I'm very excited for the next season and to see what will change in terms of meta and of course with the map.
And of course, with Valkyrie being introduced as well, and what she's going to be able to do to the competitive meta. A lot of talk from players who have play tested, etc., saying she's strong, and we'll have to see how that influences the compositions. Look forward to, of course, in the new season approaching very, very fast. The day before my birthday, that does launch. A wonderful birthday present coming in from Apex Legends, just for me, of course, just for me. But Aqualux White now making their way through Harvester, and it looks like they're going to be able to catch Badoli off guard here and get that knock. You see Brit Marie just trying to rotate there and maybe cut off those final players who are trying to get away, as we're down to 18 squads now. And one thing that has surprised me a little bit of Dolphin is going to be that last player from NCD to make his way away from that fight is the amount of aggression that we're seeing here in Europe. You know, historically, when we get to those finals lobbies, and of course that might be the case when we do get to the final 20 teams, we see a little bit of a slower game pace. We see a really measured approach to a lot of the teams and how they try and play and rotate, etc., etc. But this has just been all-out aggression. I think teams recognize that it's top 10 here, not top 1, so you can afford to take a few more fights, because the quicker you can get the KP on the board, you can kind of relax a little bit as the tournament goes on.
Yeah, you are completely right. That's something that there will have to be considered by all of these teams, that yes, okay, it would be nice to win the semi-finals, but you just need to get into that grand final, get top 10, get the job done. So that's why we have seen some arguably more aggressive compositions. Underrated perhaps wouldn't go for such a composition in the final if they're to get there. They've certainly poised themselves well to have a chance of getting there already with that incredible and huge KP game they had in match number 1. As for Naski, Yuki and Del, going to be able to portal back, but I think it's going to be followed. Are you going to be able to get him back up? No, you're not. And now you're going to have to fight here. Naski doing a job. Triple take and Eva Ray in the back pocket. And Naski and Del have to go huge here. 2 members of Kick have been downed. So Kick, after getting aggressive, have very much been pushed back.
You can see the Del's trying to chase this final player as well. The massive shot's not going to be landed. Seaback now up the zip line and trying to finish things off. He goes in against the Gibby, manages to get the break as well, and now we'll use that zip line. Fantastic movement here, coming in from the kick player, and look at this, he's still alive in this situation and turns the 2v1 into a 1v1, but it's going to be Dell who comes back to haunt Kick Esports and manages to get that final kill. Unfortunately, you can see here for Dell, he's going to be pretty smart about how he rotates, and we've just seen a wonderful example of how talented the movement is on these players and how mechanically gifted they are, not only from the initial push that we saw from Kick and the uses of a zip line and the movement around, but from Dell to escape that situation. Unfortunately, his two teammates will fall, but now, as the last player alive, at least he's managed to survive.
Yeah, just a little wall jump to escape, to get onto that next building, just elevate himself a little bit more and make sure that he can transition from one to another. And now he's just going to have a little wait here, just hide, doesn't want to make too much noise in case he gets chased. There's always going to be the consideration of, do I go for the banners? Do I just run? And the call will probably be made. Look, it's very unlikely you're going to get our banners at this point. If he hadn't already, I don't think he was able to collect any. And off he goes on his merry way to enjoy his solo journey as he moves on through Mordor and has to think about his trip with the ring now. It's all up to you, Frodo.
It is. Del, I can hear footsteps as well. I'm scared for you, Del. The syringe is going to be popped, and one good thing here for Naski, Yuki, and Del, it's always good to have that Wraith player get out as the last alive. Has the ability to, probably the best character to rat. You can jump into the void when you need to as well, and it's going to be a little bit more quiet than I initially thought. I think I was actually hearing Del's footsteps, but he's going to be able to stay alive for now, as you can see in the wonderful map overhead, as we get a little drift our way through this choke towards where a lot of players will be locating themselves. And I think that this might be potentially a countdown finish or on the tower just outside of it. And just on the platform where Na'Vi are right now. So it's going to be an interesting circle for these teams. You can see not a lot of real estate to play, which is why you're seeing a lot of teams who have got inside of that circle. When they have taken a fight, it's been pretty one-sided so far. And you can see down at the bottom there, you've got one team just holding up in train yard looking for late rotators. And it looks like they might have an opportunity to actually pick off a team. And it's going to be Dead Inside. You're inside of Countdown at the moment. And there's going to be a player pushing in, and that is going to be Underrated once more. You can see the Revenant ult going to be popped. Those players in Revenant form from the Death Totem, but they'd be sent back almost immediately. So an unsuccessful push as Faizu now swaps to the Phoenix kit. The question is, can he get it off in time? As now they get hit by a black hole.
And a couple of arc starts coming in. It was an interesting decision to go for the Phoenix instead, but he's managed to get away with it. Sajiyama is very low here. Needs to also heal up. Going to try and go for the Phoenix. Needs cover desperately from this portal. And looks like they're going to be okay. But another aggressive push from Underrated with that Revenant. That's the ability you have with the Totem. Like Dead Inside did really well just to keep them back and send them back to that Totem, respawn them and say, hey, you know what? Actually, we're not going to be messed with here. You're not going to get any of us down. No easy KP for you.
Dead Inside, even though they're in a position as far as, you know, you're looking at ring, you're looking at location, etc. It looks pretty good. Don't have any doors left on that room that they're holding, so any grenades that fly in there are going to do a fair amount of damage. So difficult area for them to play. You wonder if they're going to move out a little bit, try and create a little bit of space just to make sure that they do damage on any teams. And unfortunately for GYD fans, that will be Sir Del eliminated as the last player alive, as we see the bubble pop up on the right-hand side, and the team tracker, unfortunately, shades out that team. And now Dead Inside having to hold off yet another push coming in here from Underrated. And it seems like Underrated feel like this is KP that they can swallow up if they have the opportunity to do so. This is attempt number 2. The Arcstar's going to go down, and it isn't going to do enough damage here to really cause a problem. Maybe third time lucky for Underrated.
Dead Inside just holding them off again. The silences came through, which is always going to be a little bit frustrating, but they've said, you know what, we're going to send you back. Try again. You're not going to succeed, you're not going to push in, and I wonder whether Underrated will eventually give up on this one. But maybe they feel like this is not just KP, but also a nice position to be holding. But as you quite rightly pointed out, without doors on, you do leave yourself somewhat vulnerable to nades. You do have the bubble to work with, as a Gibby at least. But we did briefly see Del eliminated as the rat. I mean, it's very difficult to rat in Apex nowadays, especially with the amount of Bloodhounds and also with the amount of Octanes that are able to just chase you off the earth. That's why we were so impressed with how Jazaz ratted his way through the game in match number 2 for Third Impact. As we have a brief look across Countdown, and we can see the teams that have found themselves in residence. So Na'Vi positioned themselves quite successfully. Maybe this could be the game that they really put some points on the board and start to put themselves within contention of that top 10.
And Na'Vi have been performing very well recently as well. So those first 2 games, like you mentioned, get contested off drop. Sometimes it doesn't go your way. You don't get the army, don't get the gun. It is what it is, right? But they've changed their drop up, and I like what I'm seeing from them. The early decision to change drop and not let that affect the rest of their games is an impressive one to me. And it shows like a little bit of a humble mentality coming in from them, that they're willing to give up a spot that they would have wanted to make sure that they have more consistent games. And now we're going to see actually Fire Beavers, who have been incredibly aggressive as well so far in the lobby, just under that tower, which I was mentioning a little bit earlier, where this circle could potentially finish. Moving up together. Sunset, though, going to be caught out just a little bit. You can see a team actually moving up onto Sunset. He does manage to somehow get onto the pad and get somewhere near his 2 teammates, but sometimes when aggression doesn't go your way, it means that if you're not on the same page, one of your players can get picked off. And now Fire Beavers find themselves having to dance around this drill. And I'm not talking about the UK drill scene at all. This is not looking good for them right now.
It really is, and I think Scars Europe are one of the teams that were raining down fire. They were the ones who got the down onto Sunset. They would like to get that KP, I'm sure, as they are currently just sat outside of that top 10. But Taskmaster is dipping and dodging and diving, but unfortunately I think he's soon going to be dying, as everyone in the lobby seems to be wanting to get a piece of him. We're seeing charge rifles galore. It is Scars Europe. Mandy, he does have that charge rifle, and it's just constant bounce. He wants to get up there. He's finally got up there, but it's just too late as Tashin gets the final shot onto Taskmaster, and that is going to be the wipe. And Scars Europe will be happy with that. As I say, currently residing in 12th position, 2 places outside of that top 10. And they haven't really had an explosive start, and we know what they're capable of. Of course, previous winners of GLL Summer. I'm sure they'd love to win this. Up there, he's finally got up there, but it's just too late as Tashin gets the final shot onto Taskmaster, and that is going to be the wipe. And Scars Europe will be happy with that. As I say, currently residing in 12th position, 2 places outside of that top 10. And they haven't really had an explosive start, and we know what they're capable of. Of course, previous winners of GLL Summer. I'm sure they'd love to win this competition again.
There's a wonderful irony to the way that Taskmaster died. He tried to get on top of that tower 2 or 3 times. The one time that he actually managed to hit the jump perfectly, he could see the promised lands in front of him, and his feet didn't even touch the floor before he actually ended up getting up eliminated. It's just the way things go sometimes. But see Sanya, Karon, and Rugby now on the outside of Train Yard, just making their decisions now about where they want to move in. You can see that Sanya's trying to take a little bit of a fight to the left of them now, to the western side of World's Edge, and hold this team out, which looks like plan A. They're safe for now as well, so they have found a space to play around these bins and these crates, and those beams from Sanya are going to certainly do some work, and they have a Gibraltar as well, so they might be able to hold that team back. But it looks like they're getting ulted first, which is going to force them to give up a little bit of high ground, or should I say a little bit of room in front of this ring. And now look at this, Aqualox White, there's one player alive here. It's going to be the Bloodhound, and it looks like, unfortunately here for Ron, he's going to be the last player alive for his team, and it looks like he's going to be trying to move in and get some KP on the board. He's doing a lot of damage. And now Sanya's going to be involved in the fight as well. Unfortunately, it's just not enough in those final moments, and they will fall.
And here comes TI, though. TI are very close, and are looking to maybe pick up the pieces. They're having a little scout around. And are they going to be able to actually get any KP here? A couple of nades to work with. Arcstar to try and just test the waters. Doesn't look like they're going to push in just yet. Elsewhere, though, Succubus are in a little engagement that they're going to back off from. This tunnel, though, is already taken, and they're going to walk right into another fight, and they have to choose, are we actually going to try and take this fight? Do we risk being third-partied if the other team behind us hears us having a little scrap? Because a lot of people are, of course, going to be trying to get into this tunnel because you're very close to that next circle. And the transition naturally from Skyhook, if you can't push around the other way, will mean you have to go through this choke.
Succubus just trying to hold this team off that's pushing behind them. But also, like you mentioned, being aware of teams who might try and poke in and be the third party. The scan comes in as well. So teams who are on the eastern side of the map moving through that choke from Fragment are going to be more than aware the fighting that is going to be going down. You can see, unfortunately for Crypt there, he's going to get hit, and now it's time to send in the drone and hit that EMP. He's going to hopefully hit all three for his team. There's big numbers, and that should be the opportunity to push, but it's going to be a Crypto ult back. It's one exchange for another. And unfortunately for Succubus, one player has gone down here. So now it's a 2v3, and oh my word, Avant-Garde. The perfect response to a Crypto ult is a Crypto ult of your own. And now you can see they're going to have to hold, but it looks like they might be able to do so.
Yeah, Avant-Garde were helped out, of course, by that other team that had pushed behind. We knew it was going to be entirely possible. As soon as they heard the engagement, they were able to push in and just get free shots. And it was Totem Esports just picking up a couple of KP, getting involved, but now also need to be thinking about this circle, also thinking about holding the team in that choke and saying, hey, do we just hold this now and get this 3 KP? Because we are so close to the circle, but we are somewhat vulnerable. A little bit of cover, but it looks like they're going to be okay. Have to just reside in the bubble whilst that Gibby ult comes down, and well, this team pushing through are going to have another incredible 3v3, as there is the Crypto. Oh, again, it is going to tag 3 of the players. So Totem are down ever so slightly in shields.
Yeah, they have to push off this as well. The team who just hit the EMP, and they are doing so as well. J Savage is going to be taken down. Last player alive was in the void. But Amaz, unfortunately, looks like he will not be long for this world too much. Let's see if he can get this battery off, and manages to do so. But we're now down to 6 squads as that circle starts to close. And this has been another fast-paced game here with teams just desperate to get involved in these 3v3 fights.
It's a very open circle as well, but Na'Vi have moved out from Countdown now, have a little bit of high ground to work with, also have some cover behind these silos. As I say, that Kuya just can't seem to get away from bullets, but looks like should be alright, should get this bat off. And Na'Vi trying to position themselves for a potential victory here as they look across. Joined by Scars Europe, Third Impact, Croissant, and Avant-Garde. After Avant-Garde have had so much success pushing teams, they seem to want to get involved on Scars Europe as well here. Shots raining down, and Tashin has fallen.
RPR having to back up inside the bubble with his teammate Mandy. And he's just kind of hoping that some other teams might come and give them a little bit of assistance. The truck is the holy grail at the moment for all of these teams. You can see there's multiple teams fighting on the outside. The bubble can be used here by RPR from his opposition team, but unfortunately he gets poked from the window, and now it's all up to Mandy. Mandy trying to do what he can. Third Impact once again inside of the final 3 here and causing a ruckus. They move in, they clean up some kills onto Scars Europe, and now Third Impact in a wonderful position maybe to take home their second game of the day.
Yeah, when they won the first game, the other 2 teams in the final 3 fought each other, and then they just picked up the pieces, and they'll be hoping that something similar happens here. They have residents in the truck, one of the few positions on the map now with a decent amount of cover. The respawn beacon comes down as well, just to add a little bit more, as Na'Vi are going to be above them. They can shoot into this truck, they can nade this truck as well, but they're also well aware of the team across from them, who can also be a real nuisance. It's about patience now at this point. You don't want to be the first teams to engage.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare that we'll see only 3 teams alive as round 5 is starting to close in, and that's maybe a lot to do with the zone. You can see how open it is. TI are going to be in there. Na'Vi and the team on the bottom, unfortunately, they're at the roughest position right now as they're just being focused by both Na'Vi and Third Impact. The bubble's going to be forced as well. And now you have to wonder, is either the team's going to use their utility in order to try and eliminate that team, or are they going to save it for that final battle? Third Impact and Na'Vi know all about each other and won't want to give either team any advantage that they can. You can see the defensive bombardment is going to be coming in from one of the teams to try and flush the team out on that low ground, but it's not going to happen. And oh my, looks like Nesh is going to be taken down, and TI taking the opportunity here to push in onto Na'Vi and take away this high ground.
Yeah, they said actually whilst the other team's bombarded, let's push, let's see if we can get a couple of kills, let's see if we can maybe just weaken this side that's to our right, and they've done just that. Now they're back up to full health. That's a perfect execution from Third Impact. Not only have they weakened one of the other teams, but they've also shown real dominance to the other by saying, look, we're not scared of you. We're going to push one team whilst you have eyes on us.
Unfortunately for Na'Vi, they're down to a 2-player squad now. And it's a 2v2 versus 3. So Third Impact hold all the cards, unless we can't see one of the players right down on the bottom of the screen. I can see a few shots being exchanged, like you say. And you just wonder if there is one more player alive. Yes, there is indeed. And he's going to be joining his teammates now to make it a 3v3v2. So not as simple a job here for Third Impact as maybe they originally thought it might be. But that player being split, they should be able to maybe beam him on the cross. Some shots are going to be coming in from the Gibby as well to knock Ballong's shields down for a few seconds. Prowler in the hand of Ziki as well. We've already seen that do some damage onto Na'Vi. Trying to skim a few shots there and trim a few hairs off the chinny chin chin. Well, that Na'Vi player just poking around that pill. But for now, a little bit of quiet. Still got time.
No.
But it's going to be Ballong who just absolutely eliminates Kuya with the flatline.
And that's going to be the time to push and get involved in this fight, try and clean up that team, which they will, and now it's going to be a straight 3v3, and Third Impact have the high ground, but the team is going to be pushing into the bubble. You've got to do everything here if you're Ziki, and he's going to get some decent shots, but Third Impact falling like flies. It's all down to Jazaz with the Peacekeeper. Can he hit his shots? There's melees here, there, and everywhere, and it's going to be enough for Croissant to take the victory.
Nothing more satisfying than a kunai melee to finish things off. Croissant get the job done. And that's what we love to see. The third-party opportunity being taken. To be honest with you, I thought Third Impact were in a position there where it wasn't just a straight third party. They took pretty much zero damage whatsoever in that fight with Na'Vi, eliminating those final two players, and you almost expected it to just be a little bit more tightly contested than it was those final moments, but it was a clean wipe coming in from Croissant. They did a great job to not only get the knocks, but also react to the flank that came in around their bubble, around their portal. So all in all, heads were on swivels, shots were on point, and that is why they became the champions of game number 3.
Yeah, and that's the thing though, sometimes with a tiny little flank like that, you do leave your team a little bit vulnerable. If you're going up against another 3 who target successfully, and they're able to just all focus one player, get that one player down, and suddenly one of you's out of the fight because you're having a little mini flank, even if it's just for a few seconds, that could be enough for that one team to really gain an advantage and do some real damage. So Croissant, they did really well to bide their time. Credit to TI, they were the ones who were constantly trying to make a move in that final circle with the final 3. They pushed in on Na'Vi, they got the wipe on Na'Vi, they ensured that Na'Vi weren't going to win the game, but it was Croissant who came in with the melees to ensure that they got the victory. And match 3, done and dusted. We saw some of the teams at the top of the leaderboard eliminated in the early stages. Kick, underrated, got eliminated quite early, for example, but it's all going to be starting to look around that top 10 mark. Who are going to be those teams edging closer to making sure that they can get a little bit nearer towards the grand finals?
And of course, we'll be finding out very, very soon while we tot up the numbers once again. But it is going to be Third Impact who take home their second, not Third Impact, Third Impact involved in the final 3 towards the end of the game. You would imagine they'll be involved in the final 3 as far as the leaderboards are concerned as well once we total up those scores. But Croissant take home game number 3. We're now over the halfway mark as far as games are concerned. It's time for us to go to a break before we bring you those leaderboards. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
Then tell me what you wanna do. Then tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
Then tell me what you wanna do. Then tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do.
Then tell me what you wanna do. Then tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
could have had it all. You could have had it all. You could have had it all, but you didn't come right. You didn't come right. Now you wanna go and call me. I'm done praying on you. A queen like me needs more from you.
Welcome back, everybody. The producer in my hair just made me laugh once more. Gunnar, you are a hero and a wonderful man. Welcome back, everybody, to the GLL Masters Spring. Pure professionalism from myself as well, not being able to hold it together as we intro the show once more. Dan, you're probably just sitting there thinking, what is going on right now? But you've got to admit, that is probably the last thing you want to hear in your ears before you go live. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff.
I mean, I had a giggle as well, and I just was hoping that you would lose it, and you did. So that's what always makes me happy, is seeing you corpse on camera. So there we go. But we move into the next set of games, and of course we'll look at the results from the previous game, and it was Croissant who got the victory, and they also had 11 kills to go on with it. So they got 23 in total. And for Avantgarde, they got 13 kills. They might have only got 4 points from placement, but they still find themselves in second position in that game. So that will help push them up the leaderboards as well. But again, it's around that kind of, I don't know, let's say 7th to 13th position where people are picking up just, 2 to 5 points, which could really make the difference when we get to the grand scheme of things. And when we look at, all 12 games and who's going to finish in that top 10.
It certainly is. We'll have a look at the overalls as well, just to see how things are lining up as far as the qualifying spots are concerned. And you can see pretty tight at the moment. Third Impact taking quite a lot of points away from the lobby in that first 3 games mean that it is extremely tight. You can say all the way down there, just a few points separating, and only 3 games gone. Of course, we should keep that into consideration. But like you mentioned, 10th to all the way down, to be honest with you, to 20th at the moment. There's only 13 points between them. And that's the kind of total you can make up in just one game. So as long as that Impact keep producing results like they have in those first 3 games, everybody else in this lobby has a real opportunity. And Na'Vi, with that performance, Dan, most importantly, moving up now to 11th from down in 20th.
Yeah, they were down rock bottom, but that's how quickly one game can change your fortune and get you closer towards that top 10. But still a lot of games to be played. Even if there's only 3 more to be played today, there's another 6 tomorrow. Plenty of points to be had. Even, for example, Third Impact, they're not safe. They might be on 42 points, but if they get knocked out consistently in the lower end of the lobby, then they could find themselves dropping into that top 10, into the bottom 10, if they do not continue to perform consistently. I don't think that's going to happen with how they've been playing, but you never know, and that's what can happen when there are going to be 12 games to try and separate the lobby here. But we have seen a lot of speed in these lobbies in the early stages, a lot of early contesting from teams, a lot of early fights, people losing 1 or 2 players and then trying to rat it out. And also we've seen circles. For example, that last circle, which was quite an open area, so it was very difficult for people to find residence and try and find any safe places. So instead, they were forced to take fights as they were rotating in, and that's why we saw the lobby just kind of fall so quickly.
Na'Vi doing a good job, though, of indicating to the lobby what can happen if you have one good game there, catapulting themselves up to essentially 10 places, or 9 places, just outside of those qualification spots. So really is showing that there is hope. But, as I say, you don't want to leave that too late, because before you know it, those points start to tally up. There's teams inside the top 10 start to extend those leads a little bit, and you don't want to put that pressure on yourself going into the final 3 or 4 games in tomorrow's action. You want to kind of set yourself up overnight. We were talking a lot about this during the NA show, where it's a much better mentality to be inside of that top 10 going into day 2 than it is looking up at that top 10 thinking, what do we have to change? What do we have to do? Because the teams inside the top 10, what you were doing, it was working.
Yeah, some people would, well, I think most people would prefer to be in the top 10, but there are some teams who I think if they are maybe 9th or 10th and they're right on the cusp, they then might play a little bit scared, and that might actually go against them. Whereas the teams, for me, if you're in 11th, 12th, and you're just right there, you can start to play a little bit more aggressive, and that might fit your playstyle. You might enjoy playing aggressive, enjoy W keying like it's just a pub game. It might not work, but that certainly might fit your playstyle a little bit more than kind of playing scared and trying to hide in buildings and hoping to rat out to get some placement points. So all these different things that come into the equation when you are in that top 10 or in that bottom 10 going into the next 6 games tomorrow. But we are jumping into the next game then on set, and I wonder whether we're going to see some more early fights. I'm sure we will.
Well, let's find out then. It's going to be Croissant who not only did win that last game as well, but also won the 2 fights off contention against Na'Vi over at Lava City to kick things off. And you can see there is going to be some contention here once again, or is that team going to go off towards Dome? Nope, it looks like it's going to be a straight 3v3 here for the winners of our game number 3.
Yeah, need to make sure they pick up some guns, find some weapons. The scan is, of course, going to be very important from the Bloodhound. Are you actually going to have any weapons to work with? This is my kind of loot. I say that, and R301 was just found as the first kill of the game is going to go to Jakku from Kick. But Croissant, it looks like, even though they were contested off drop, at least there's not going to be anyone punching them out just yet, so they don't have to worry too much.
Yeah, the smart thing to do when you do see a team contesting, make sure you land in the same building. Make sure that if you're going to be in a position that you can at least all fight together, even if you don't have the greatest of guns or armors to work with. But Kick Esports doing a good job here, just eliminating 69 IQ, I think that was from the lobby. So that's our first team been eliminated. Kick Esports will pick up those KP, and now Bad Nades, they're on the verge of being eliminated themselves at the moment, as you can see. Naki going to be the last player alive inside of Trials. He's actually got one more player going to be knocked, but you can see that the team were trying to hunt him down at the moment. And is there a self-res there? No, it's just a sad, forlorn looking Bloodhound.
Sad Bloodhound indeed, just only able to watch what's happening unfold. And for the last member of Bad Nades here, it's just a case of biding your time, hoping that maybe the team won't come and push you, and you might be able to get a res, but I'm not sure it's going to be doable because Kick have been aggressive. Kick have been pushing Trials consistently throughout this game, and they're going to do so here as well. Jakku almost goes down, a slither of health, literally 1 HP. Has to go into the bubble, needs some support from Denze, and they will arrive, but perhaps that damage is enough just to back them off slightly. As the final member will zip up to the top of Trials. But Kick want this KP.
Understandably so, and this looked like it could be the end. 40 damage going to be done here by Denze. It's not enough to get the knock, though, but the Phoenix wasn't popped, so if he goes up and re-challenges and gets those shots away, it should be the kill. However, not as easy as it looks sometimes. This player is being a little bit of a slippery pickle here, Dan, on World's Edge, trying desperately to get away. And to be honest, for Kick, this has got to be incredibly frustrating because not only is it annoying as far as you can't just get that final kill, it slows down your rotation, all these seconds off the clock, and pushing yourself out of position for this 1 KP can affect the rest of the game for you.
But I think the final member of Kick is going to be there for the pincer, and eventually ISN will fall. Oh, a little teabag as well. I love to see it.
It's important to stay warm, Dan.
Yes. Ensure, and it also just assert a little bit of dominance. I respect that. There has been a lot of fights between these two teams in the early stages of this tournament, and this is an elongated teabag.
This is what the camera was designed for. Come on, we needed you to perform there, Seaback. I mean, to be fair, he performed for a good 15 or 20 seconds. Do you know what? I'm going to blame you, observers. You should have got it earlier, observers. I'm only joking. I love you, observers. Please don't make my job. Me. Yeah, please don't observe me. Don't make my job any more difficult. But Natsuki, Yuki, and Del, who do need a good game here, Dan, as we've already had 3 gone, and they haven't really had any standout games, to be honest. They kind of forced their way into a top 10-ish position in that game number 2. But for a team of such stature and such ability, you almost expect them to be in that top 5 every single game.
Well, they're being a nuisance here, joining in on the action, managing to pick up a little bit of KP as well. Just holding these train tracks, but also knowing when is the right time to back away from a fight. They've done their job, they've got a bit of KP, made themselves known, but they also made a lot of noise as Rugby will be taken down by Taskmaster. Maybe Taskmaster getting a little bit of revenge, but unfortunately steps a little bit too far to the left, finds himself in the middle of the air with his pants completely down. Thankfully, just gets away and will be able to bat. Sanya was almost able to take him out of the air, and actually he did go down. He wasn't able to get the bat off because Dolphin on the other side also doing some damage. And the team's just caught in between a rock and a hard place right now.
We haven't seen the map overhead to get a little bit of an indication of where that circle is going to be going. So when we do get the opportunity to do so, we'll obviously see where these teams are trying to rotate to, as we see Yuki now with the flat line in hand, and just holding this tunnel between Harvester and Sorting Factory at the moment. And there it is. Great job from the observing team to show us it's going towards Tree and Thermal Station at the moment. You can see that Case Sweeney and the lads down in that building, the Beacon building, just between the choke of the two. But it looks like everyone is pretty confident this one's going to be going towards Trees. You can see all of the colors of the rainbow slowly moving their way in towards that POI. Kick Esports a long way off to the northern side, still inside of Skyhook at the moment. But you can see here that Fire Beavers are having a little bit of a battle inside of this truck, and it's going to be down to 9Imps now to drop down. I think Taskmaster actually managed to somehow stay alive during all of this. He managed to wriggle his way away from all of these fights and the bullets that were going down. And, excuse me, Sunset it was who went down, but they've managed to get him back up, and now they'll be able to survive.
Well, they might be Fire Beavers on the map, but also some sneaky Beavers, just being able to survive and get away, and it can be very important just to crawl away and find any nook or cranny to ensure that your team can pick you up once everything has settled down a little bit. But the dust did settle, and now all these teams are just backing off one another here. And this position on top of the train track is all right for them, to be completely honest, but we'll move across and we'll have a look and see how Kick are getting along. Of course, performing excellently at the moment in our leaderboards. They had a difficult game in the previous match, but they're still third overall, 31 points, 11 points off of first, that being third Impact. But they do have to transition into this next circle. They have to rotate, and they're trying to plan, I think, just about how and where they're going to head, because that circle is coming in.
And Kick quite happy just playing edge of zone here. They're not going to take too much damage from this first zone, so they can rotate through if they need to, go through the red, just do what they need to do and take their time doing so. You can see that when we saw the map overhead, there's so many teams already made their rotation. You can see Train Yard is completely free. They can move up to there if they want to and take absolutely no damage whatsoever. But of course, they need to get that information that Train Yard is now free. Or if they try and move through staging, they'll also be rewarded there. And that looks like where the move will be made. So they're now going to make their way down south. The team's already taking up pretty much every single building which is within that zone now. You can see that GYD are playing that snake building on the low ground just outside of Sorting Factory as well. And one team now rotating from Lava City through launch site and will be approaching Tree from the eastern side of World's Edge. So some different rotations being taken by different teams, but a lot of them gone for that early rotation here, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm counting, so there's 16 squads. I can only see 2 that are outside, 3 make it maybe outside of this circle. So we've got 13 teams that have already found themselves dead center of that next one. A lot of them in residence around that Tree area. One of the best positions being in that far southwest spot where that beacon currently is, so they can continuously scan and get more information than the rest of the lobby, and then they can move accordingly if they need to. But it could pull their weight. And that's what everyone's going to be hoping, that it does pull towards them. Those teams that are towards Harvester, probably unlikely to get a pull their way, but we have seen it happen. Same for the team towards Sorting Factory. It's going to be about whether you want to push for KP, accepting that you are not going to be in a position to win the game. And that team in launch site is going to be one of the last to join the circle, so there are going to be a lot of eyes their way, I'm sure, when they do eventually transition towards it.
Well, Third Impact, who have been the standout team so far in the lobby in our first 3 games, are currently just overlooking everything that's going down just outside of Sorting Factory. You can see they're going to be safe for the next minute and 40 seconds or so. And with 16 squads remaining, there's not going to be too many areas for them to try and move up, to be honest with you. It's going to be a risk to do so, but they're going to be looking for third-party opportunities as those teams do start to exchange a few shots. Some damage might be done that they can pick and take advantage of. There's 22 to the total of Ziki here. You can see it's going to be his first damage of the game as well. So they made a fairly quiet and unperturbed rotation so far. You can see not had to fight too much, not too much poke damage being done. But the team that's up on the high ground just to their left there that you can see is going to be Scars Europe, who had a much better game in that previous game than what we saw from them in games 1 and 2. And such a formidable fighting team as well. That 3v3 potential they have is so impressive.
And now, I don't mean to blow my own horn here. Of course I do, I'm going to blow my own horn. But I did say I had a feeling Third Impact were going to perform well today, did I not?
You did.
And they even picked Fuse in game 1, Mark.
Did you
And
have
they
some
just
insider trading information, and they were going to be?
I will put a shoe on my head to confirm that we are live, but it's, even with a Fuse, they've just asserted dominance in this lobby, and they just seem to be the team to beat at the moment. But it can very quickly change. That's only 3 games. We've got 9 more to play, so they still need to find that consistency. I'd like to see them go back to Fuse if they continue to assert their dominance, if I'm completely honest, but I don't think it's going to happen.
And here lies the semi-finals of Third Impact. Stan Gaskin curses them 3 games in with 9 to go. But no creativity now, being on the receiving end, unfortunately, of a push coming in from Underrated. You saw the Revenant player going in. The Legion boys now have a little bit of a scuffle, and it's not just a scuffle, it's a full-blown fist fight outside of a Weatherspoons in the UK, as the Legion boys now trying to close things out. The Mozambique shots won't hit, the Arcstar will, though, and that will be them eliminated. And it will be at the hands of Underrated once again, showing so much willingness to fight.
Oh, it was quite apt as well that Ox was in a fight, because you'd imagine a pub name probably would be The Ox, wouldn't it? That's yeah, we'll just go down the Ox for a quick pint or 2 and end up in a scrap. And a scrap was had, but the scrap was not successful.
You've changed.
Nasky, you can tell, are going to be pushing in and maybe look to pick up the scraps of this initial scrap. Ult comes in, Horizon and Yuki getting involved, but it looks like Na'Vi are able to escape underneath in this train track.
Yeah, train track tunnel is so difficult to hold, though. If you get pinched from one side, you've got no cover whatsoever when you're inside there. So Na'Vi going to have to make a decision. And you can see they have done so to move away from that, as GYD are overlooking where they think that Na'Vi might be poking. And now they get a little bit of damage in the back. Nasky just standing still on top of that rock for a little bit too long, and being on the receiving end of a sniper shot from distance as well. Na'Vi now making their rotation around that corner. So it's going to be a re-engagement here. And you can see that GYD, unfortunately, they're going to be forced to use that bubble. Nasky going to be using the ability of the Gibraltar to pop those cells and get back up, because that team is overlooking GYD now, which is going to allow Na'Vi maybe to sneak past them here.
And now it's going to be even harder not to say Nasky, Strafe and Dell when all 3 of them are on the same screen together, but on opposite teams, of course, as Na'Vi, though, do not want to take that fight. They had a little poke, they had a little look, but they are more than happy to rotate into the circle, and they can take residence in this building and now look towards how they're going to transition into the next bit of the circle. But they don't have the information thus far as to where that circle is going to be moving, but I'm sure they're going to have an idea of where it's going to be. Whereas down in the bottom left-hand side, Underrated, one of our more aggressive teams, Horizon's under a little bit of problems right now. It's going to be Kick Esports on the other end of that, but also Scars Europe have just lost a player. Third Impact getting him. Zaz gets the finish with the Eva 8. Now RPR and Mandy going to have to try and take this one 2v3.
I mean, Third Impact just seem to be winning every single fight that they engage in at the moment. It's very impressive to watch. Maybe that little game on Fuse really just made them hone the senses and tighten things up. You can't make too many mistakes. And now Nags is going to be moving in as NCD look to be involved here as well. In this same fight we've been seeing go down for quite a long time. RPR is going to be eliminated as well. That will be him gone. 14 squads now remaining as Badoli, Dolphin and Nags get that job done. And unfortunately for Scars, once again, it's one of those games that things just not going their way at the moment.
Yeah, they get pushed in the back after losing an initial member. But Mandy's still alive. Well, that's going to be a loud syringe. That's a little bit careful when you only got a slither of health, but I respect it. Just want as much health as possible, just in case anyone does drop on you. Not the best to rat as a Gibby, but Mandy is a fantastic player, so I'm excited to see how he manages to navigate that situation. For Nasky, Yuki, and Dell, they also have found themselves in this area where Underrated were earlier, as well as Kick. Fire Beavers down to just 1, and Sunset doing what he can with the wingman. Hits a couple of shots, but it's not going to be enough. Eliminated and taken out of the game, down to 13 squads, as Avantgarde should be able to get up to a full 3 here, which they do.
Yeah, they'll be able to reset here. You can see Gibby Ult going to be coming in as well. Just, I don't know if that's a defensive one or if it's from another team just trying to clean up the scraps that might have been going down, but I think it might have been defensive there just to make sure that no team could push up on them. You can see that ZH has put down the crypto drone as well to prepare for an EMP to hold off any third parties. And look at this, here comes the third party once more. Nade's going to be going in. Aqualux, who won their fight inside a tree now, are going to be destroyed, obliterated, eliminated by NCD. A simple fight for them, and now they have to turn their attentions back to watch their backs to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, NCD just seem to be picking up all the pieces at the moment and then putting them all together like a jigsaw. Speaking of, my parents have just been doing a jigsaw recently, and have you ever partaken in a jigsaw, Mark? It's quite therapeutic. I put a couple of pieces in. Just thought I'd recommend it to anyone watching. If you are having a hard day, tough time, maybe the Apex queue ranked is not going your way, try a puzzle.
The only jigsaw I know is the guy from Saw. So, I mean,
right, so not therapeutic at all.
Different mentalities. I mean, you know, you take that jigsaw mentality into a game of Apex, though, you're gonna be beaming. So take what you will from that. Nasky, Yuki, and Del, though, they're gonna have to make a very, very tough rotation here. You can see they do have some fish below them to shoot, and that's gonna be underrated as well, who gets sent back in that Revenant form to the totem, and now they're going to have to fight once more. The high ground, very important. The black hole comes in, immediately destroyed though, but look at these nades going down. Is all sorts of problems here for Nasky, Yuki, and Del, and it ends up with 2 players falling over, and now it's just the one remaining. And underrated again, just relentless aggression from them. They really have been the pace setters in the lobby.
Oh, Horizon just gets away, and Na'Vi are on the other end of this. They can clean up what was left of Nasky, Yuki, and Del, and they'll get all that loot to work with. G7 and the R9 in the hands of one of the players, and Na'Vi now, as I say, free to loot. Time as well to maneuver their way around this kind of rock if they want to move into the next circle. 11 squads left, because underrated, they did the damage and then they quite rightly just got out and thought about the next circle.
Well, GYD aren't out, because Del has just been a pigeon in the trees, looking down on everybody. And Na'Vi had absolutely no idea whatsoever that Del was there. Once again, I love it when we see solo plays and how effective they can be. And now he's becoming the rock climber extraordinaire, trying to force his way around this jagged edge of rock to find some sort of rotation or safe spot. But it's looking a little bit more difficult than maybe it could be. But I think that he's safe. I think he might be safe here.
Might be safe. There is a member of underrated just around the corner if he keeps on going too high.
I think they heard him.
And they did hear him. It's going to be Horizon just waiting there, maybe looking to pick up some free KP. But of course, they don't want to go to the other edge of this rock. They're not going to chase it all the way around. The drop will be made by Del, and it's whether Del goes all the way back round, but no, he's going to try and just escape this way. And unfortunately, after a very brave effort of surviving for quite some time, eventually GYD fall in 11th place. And underrated's patience and gatekeeping has paid off.
Yeah, great awareness from underrated to remember that there wasn't, you know, they didn't see Del's name in the kill feed. And NCD now all of a sudden in a little bit of bother. As you can see, one player has fallen. Nags is going to be that player. Team above them on this middle structure, the tree that looks over all of the players inside of the tree, POI. And third impact now moving in as well, making their late rotation a wonderful bubble as well. They get the clean wipe. Once again, third impact. The bubble goes down to bubble the loot and give them the stability to get those heals off as well. And third impact just inching their way up on every single team at the moment and just striking at the opportune moment.
Yeah, they're just saying, well, there's more KP over here, KP over there, and as soon as they see it, they are pouncing on it indeed, but also knowing when to just reset, when to calm things down. Don't need to push on just yet. It's going to be a bit of a struggle when a couple of people are weak, but the ult and the Gibby bombardment will also come down to help them get some damage here. And of course, they do have to move up into this next circle, so it just makes sense to start pushing on this team, but they need to wait for Balong, I feel. There's just so many teams and players to choose from as to who they'd like to push, but underrated have gone into their ult. They're also looking to get aggressive. The 2 of them have been sent back.
I did manage to get some knocks along the way, though. Now third impact move in again and just wipe another enemy off of World's Edge. This one looks like a little bit of a sterner fight, though, and Zeki's going to have to portal back here to see if they can get Jazaz up just in time before he gets finished. It looks like he will be able to, but look at this. There's a team right next to him, and that might be the end of Jazaz, although the bubble now goes down, so using every single bit of utility here. And dead inside, unfortunately, even though they're in a great position to finish off those kills, just the abilities of Gibraltar once again on display, showing how vital it is to survive in these fights.
Yeah, so third impact surviving, but I don't know whether they're going to be able to transition to actually win this game. As I say that, no, they are eliminated, or at least 2 of them are. There's still 1 left, I believe, as 6 squads still remain as the circle starts to close. Dead inside are transitioning into that circle. They found themselves with a little bit of cover here, but if a team does come above them, it's going to be very difficult indeed. K-Swinny's just taking down Plushka, And now we're going to see the bleed outs as well. Casewinny and Horizon taken out, as well as Belong. So that's Third Impact and Underrated, both wiped from the server.
And Dead Inside looking to get inside of this zone and take center zone at the moment and just fight anyone who comes towards them, because they are looking so strong. The Spitfire doing so much damage, as we know. That purple mag will keep on firing all the way into game 5 if it needs to. No creativity inside of one of the buildings that is left. But unfortunately, this looks like a little bit of a YOLO push coming in, which they get away with for the time being as they try and finish off that final kill that was outside. That could have gone very differently in that situation. Aldi manages to get away with it there. And now firing down with that flatline, trying to do a little bit more damage, but they're safe down. They can kind of hold out these other teams and hope that they start fighting and then move in themselves.
Yeah, Dead Inside have done really well to get into this last 3 and also doing a decent amount of damage, but it's no creativity. You have certainly the power position inside and the most cover, hoping that the other 2 teams will fight. There's the portal with the attempted kidnap, I feel, from no creativity, but I wonder whether their creative attempt's actually going to work out for them. Doesn't look like it did, but it looks like TTM are having a little push in to try and have a little nose, as Dead Inside are just waiting, trying to pick up the pieces from outside as well here.
Shots exchanged through the window, big shots as well. That's not only as far as damage is concerned, but that's going to give the red Evo here to no creativity, giving them a little bit more survivability inside of that final battle that's going to be going down. So 3 squads now remaining. A little bit of posturing going down. As you can see, the closing will occur in around 1 minute and 30 seconds. And those teams will be forced into each other. And to be honest with you, I kind of like the positioning here of Dead Inside on the outside of the building, just waiting. And they can wait for those 2 teams to move into each other, and they can pick the pieces off.
Yeah, it's a difficult position for Totem. They find themselves on the other side of the building, so they have to go through the team that has already found themselves in residence. Oh, Sajama almost goes down, but thankfully the bubble came quickly out so they can heal, but that bubble will now be gone for this fight, and the other teams know it as the now secondary bubble comes in. No creativity have pushed out, and they've got a bubble to protect themselves, and now here comes the bombardment to take advantage of that bubble, and this could do some real damage to Dead Inside.
With no creativity, they are unfortunately going to be hit by a Gibby ult of themselves. It's Gibby ult central at the moment. The skies are opening, and Gibraltar once again having such a big impact on this final moment of the game. But it looks like it's Reply Totem who are going to be moving in to clean this one up. The last player is going to be behind them. He's going to be eliminated, and they will have the easiest third-party opportunity possible in the final moments to clean up game number 4. So a great performance, great patience from them, and kind of just waiting for the other teams to do their thing and then taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I thought maybe Totem would have struggled because they were on the other side of the building. Dead Inside were also outside, but on the southern side of the map. And I thought they were going to have to push in, and the other team who were inside were going to really just annoy Totem. But because they pushed out and they went for the bubble after seeing the initial bubble from Dead Inside, it just allowed Totem to patiently wait and say, hey, actually, they're all in open field right now. We've got some Gibby bombardments to work with. We can do the initial damage. They were forced to fight. And it was very well played by Totem, just assessing the situation and, of course, having that trigger discipline and being patient at the right time. But another fantastic game of Apex, another interesting circle that is always good to look back at. And I'm sure that the teams themselves look back at these circles and try and work out who could have done something different. Should there have been a team doing X, Y, or Z? But I also enjoyed this moment when Dell was able to hide and rat away, but it was short-lived, unfortunately, as he got taken down in 11th place. But another fantastic performance from Third Impact as well. I think they finished in 5th position in the end, or at least around that. So still more points and should still have towards the top of the table mark.
Yeah, still a great performance and certainly the standout team, but it is, of course, not going to be their game to win in that particular moment. But, I mean, the thing that's impressed me so far is that, again, I always talk about the depth of talent in both regions now and how it seems to be increasing. Every single time we get to tournament, we see new teams in finals. We see when we get to semi-finals, there's always what you would consider upsets of more established teams not quite making it through. And it's just showing the trickle-down effect, right? With all the tournaments that are going on in the midweek, or, you know, all scrims that are going on, every single thing that happens, right? ALGS qualification, more and more people watching competitive Apex. All these teams are getting more and more experience now to where it is a point where the semi-finals become a bloodbath. It is so difficult to get into that top 10, to get into a final, that getting to the final itself is an achievement now in Apex Legends, let alone winning a tournament.
Yeah, quite often when we do ALGS broadcasts, we only see, of course, the final 20 teams. We don't often get to see the semi-finals and people qualifying to that position, but we can see now here just how competitive these lobbies are and how difficult it is to get into that top 10. Because even though we've seen some teams dominate the first game, for example, Underrated dominated the first game, but then came, like 19th in the second game where they really struggled. And it is that constant back and forth of trying to find consistency, trying to push forward to ensure you get yourself into that top 10 and towards that grand final, whether you then have to raise the bar yet again. But I'm loving these lobbies so far, 4 games in, and it's still difficult to call the top 10 teams.
Well, we've got 2 more games to go today, and we'll be bringing those to you in just a few moments. It's time for us just to grab a drink, and you should do so as well. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
Then tell me what you wanna do. Then tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
Then tell me what you wanna do. Then tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do.
Then tell me what you wanna do. Then tell me what you wanna do.
Tell me what you wanna do. Tell me what you wanna do.
You could have had it all, you could have had it all. All of my good stuff, all of my kisses were yours. But baby, don't call. I'm done praying on you. A queen like me needs more from you. Hot girl summer, done waiting on you. Where my queen's at? And I appreciate that. Where my queen's at? I'm done waiting on you. I'm done waiting on you. Don't care if you judge me. Don't need you to love me. I dance on my own. I don't care if they watch me. You could have had it all. You could have had it all. You could have had it all, but you didn't come right. You didn't come right. Now you wanna go and call me. I'm done praying on you. A queen like me needs more from you.
Welcome back again, everybody. Excuse me. Sorry, I've got a bit of a sore throat. I'm not feeling 100%, and that is why I just choked on that word. But welcome back, everybody, once again to the GLL Masters Spring. Dan's giggling, but he has abducted someone who's in the background of his shot. So I don't know what he's laughing about. But there's nothing to laugh about when it comes to gameplay, because this stuff has been incredibly impressive so far. We've got 2 more games to bring you today, and we should update you with the scores and how things are standing. We've just had our game number 4, where Reply Totem Esports took home the win with 22 points on the board, 10 kills as well. So a big game from them. Avant-Garde, very successful game from them as well, with 14th place. Dead Inside in 14th. But the other end of the table, Dan, once again, including some of our biggest names that we have in Europe.
Yeah, seeing Scars Europe and Na'Vi down there, new esports as well, we've seen with amazing performances in the history of ALGS, for example, but just not picking up points whatsoever. There is a clear disparity between the top 10 and the bottom 10 at the moment. Like, all the kills seem to be gathered by certain teams, whereas a lot of these other teams just aren't able to get them. I guess there's one thing, though, that is slightly good for those teams who haven't performed in the early stages of this tournament, is that there has been big kill games. So we have seen certain teams pick up all the points, and that means you do have a chance to kind of catch those teams up, because it hasn't been spread too evenly throughout the entire lobby.
Yeah, I think a good example of that is if we see the total leaderboards after game 4 is No Creativity holding down that final qualification spot on 22 points, but Bad Nades 2 points. 20 points is doable in one game. We've already seen it. So for no one really in a position to worry too much at the moment, unless some of the other teams start kind of stealing away those points as well that are currently sort of in that 3rd place to 7th place, then you start to get a little bit nervy about things. But this is how things are looking in our other semi-final that's running alongside this one. An Alliance top of the pile, and they are dominating at the moment. 62 points for them.
Yeah, and I was thinking that Alliance were going to be one of these teams that we have to look out for in this group, alongside Gambit, who dominated their previous round. T-Rex performing very well, Nessie in the mix as expected, Major Push is also up there, and Solo Q Goats at the moment holding on that 10th place spot, which would be enough to get them into the grand final. But of course, all those teams in the bottom 10 will be looking to try and take that spot off them, and they are not necessarily comfortably in 10th spot, only a few points ahead of those in the bottom 10. So we're going to need some bigger performances from them if they want to solidify their spot in that top 10 and get towards that grand final. But still plenty more games as we move into match number 5.
Yeah, let's sit to France. A little bit concerning for them to find themselves so low down after 4 games, but I'm sure that they'll be able to pull it together and put a run together. If not today, then of course tomorrow we'll be back for the other 6 games to round out the semi-final process. But you can see we're going to start off with our winners of the last game, which finished around Tree, so a southern zone for the teams to contend with. And we've seen a fair spread across World's Edge so far in these first 4 games. So no excuses really for anyone not to be inside of that top 10 that we would expect so far.
Yeah, I think there's been enough games now that you should be able to have at least had one good game if you are one of the top teams. If you haven't, I think then the siren bells start to ring in your head, because you're saying, why are we struggling so much? Whereas teams that we think we're usually on par with are just having so much success here, are just getting kill upon kill upon kill. But we can see that circle. It is going to be a southeastern circle down towards Lava City. So that is going to be great news for those teams who are dropping in those situations. New esports, for example, who have been struggling thus far in Sorting Factory, they might be able to maneuver their way down towards Lava and position themselves for, hopefully, a large game for them as they gatekeep teams coming towards them from Geyser, etc., etc. So a fantastic chance for those teams to try and do something in a slightly different circle from what we've seen today.
Yeah, frustrating circle for Na'Vi, who were dropping over at Lava City, but of course lost those 2 first contestants in those first 2 games. So we'll have to make a much longer rotation than they would have previously had they been left at Lava City to their own devices. But such is Apex Legends, such is the competitive landscape, that nobody owns anything. It's as simple as that. But a great indication on the map overhead of where these teams are going to have to rotate. And a team that, like Reply Totem Esports, who of course won our last game with the southern side circle, should be pretty confident as well, making their way across again towards Lava City. And the likes of Scars, who need a performance in this game, Dan, have the opportunity to make a quick rotation. But looking at that rotation now, look, RPR split from his 2 teammates, and you can see that GYD, I think they might have honed in on this.
Yeah, Scars definitely will want to be getting some more points to kind of secure themselves in the top 10 rather than find themselves going into tomorrow with a little bit of a struggle. And you are right, slightly split on the rotation. We have seen a couple of what was considered ego drops by a few teams, but when we look at Third Impact, I mean, they've got 3 different POIs to themselves at the moment. Survey Camp, Refinery, and Epicenter. And they are more than happy to loot all that, and no one seems to be contesting them, but Kick are close to that Survey Camp, so you've got to be careful.
It's the complexity spread. TI and complexity both take all of those 3. It's so difficult to take Refinery. I think a lot of teams would rather go anywhere else just because of the fact that you're always fighting uphill. And if there's a team at Epicenter, you're kind of in a rock between a hard place, so to speak, especially with a team Overlook as well with that high ground. It's probably the weakest POI, in my opinion, as far as dropping is concerned. You do have the beacon there, of course, but it's one that I think a lot of people would rather avoid than claim themselves, because you already see teams moving in. And I love these zones. I always love the zones where we have buildings with multiple different levels in, like Lava City, like Fragment East, for example, where you get the opportunity to see multiple teams moving in and above each other, around each other, underneath each other, wherever it would be. They're certainly going to be feeling the body warmth, but it's wonderful to see how these small decisions turn and change the tides towards the end game of these teams.
And it's always tempting when you see teams transitioning into your area as well to push them and say, actually, this is our real estate. We dropped here. This is where we're going to be holding position. But you know you're in a fantastic spot for the end game. So you're reluctant to push and give away your position and give away potentially a lot of placement points. But you're always at fear that maybe that team that's arrived late might actually try and push you out of your spot. So it's always got to be a conversation with your team as to, do we need to push them? Can we push them? Are we weak? Have we done enough damage whilst they have been moving in? As 69 IQ, who have been eliminated in the early stages of this tournament quite often, are in another early engagement themselves. Charge rifle in the hand of Slayers, just scouting around as Croissant are actually having a fight over here in Lava City. And after dropping at Lava City, it looks like someone did want to take their position off them, and it's just Robin on his own. Gonna bat up, but 2 of his teammates have been taken out, and it's a Qualix White. They were the team that actually got aggressive and pushed in. And that is a real shame if you're Croissant.
Yep, they will be eliminated. That is clean as you like. But just looking as well at the kill feed, I think it was Nasky, Strafey, and Dell as well involved. I said it again. Nasky, Yuki, and Dell, they have been a team for so long now. I cannot get that out of my mind. I can do better. Apologies, everybody. Apologies, especially to Yuki, one of the most handsome players that we have in the ALGS, for that little fraudulent slip. It was an honest mistake. But that is going to be them eliminated again. And now, you talked about alarm bells, Dan. They will certainly be ringing. That's 5 games now where they would not be inside of those qualification spots. And I always feel like if you're dropping Frag East as well, you have such a good opportunity to rotate and make a play on some sort of position on any POI landed center map that you need to be converting a little bit better.
Yeah, they were 15th coming into this game, and now they've just been eliminated in the bottom 2 yet again, so they are going to be dropping further and further away from that top 10. They were 10 points off no creativity, and that gap, you imagine, is going to get a little bit further after this game 5. Still a lot of time, but certainly those alarm bells will be ringing because they just haven't been able to find that success. The rotations just haven't worked for them. They've been caught out time and time again, whether it just be one player not quite with the rest of the team, or whether it's been just getting third parties and sometimes even just losing a straight team fight. But it can happen. Sometimes you can just have a bad day and circles might not go your way, but they need to change things sooner rather than later. Otherwise, they may not even make the grand finals at this rate.
And you can see our 20th place team there, just down to a 2-man as well. So not the greatest of starts for them, but they might be able to get a res back if they did have that beacon in hand. Didn't manage to catch it myself, just in the bottom left of the screen, but you can see that they're going to be pushed as well, or potentially pushed. I think they realize that they're a 2-man team, but now just backing out of it as they can probably hear the footsteps coming through the tunnel. And that is going to be Na'Vi making their approach. And there's Strafey. See, I knew he's here. I just know he's on Na'Vi. Come on, he's been on Na'Vi for ages. I'm having an internal monologue with myself. But he's in the game. That's what I was trying to say, okay? I'm sorry, everyone.
Do we accept his apology, everyone? I'll ask.
Totally accept it. It's unacceptable.
And Yuki, I'll ask for his opinion because he needs to be the one who has the final decision of what your punishment is going to be. Maybe you have to say Nasky, Yuki, and Dell 30 times over as fast as possible and see if you slip up at all. But maybe that's something for a Twitter video rather than on broadcast because no one wants to watch that pain right now. Speaking of Na'Vi, and the fact that Strafey is there and is alive, they have also been struggling, Mark. 13th position at the moment, 7 points afloat and away from that 10th spot. They finished in 9th position in the last game, but had 0 KP. They really weren't finding anything. And another team, Scars Europe, who have been falling in the early stages of games and maybe haven't necessarily been finding those placement points, also in a little bit of trouble right now. Tashin will be picked back up though. And hopefully they can reset quickly here after getting an initial KP.
And it's TI who are trying to be aggressive on them again. You can see the triple take shots are going to be coming in onto RPR. He's going to have his shields broken as well. Tashin and Mandy now in a position to at least support their teammate, and they've managed to get hold of this building just on the outside of Lava City, as you can see in the little camp just to their right is going to be third impact. But here comes Reply Totem Esports, the winners of our last game. But unfortunately, the first knock in this fight will not go their way. And now Totem Esports in all sorts of trouble, and they're going to be wiped by 69 IQ. And that is more the type of business we need to see from 69. But now look at this. The third party is coming in, and it looks like Nook is leading the charge.
Very much just wanting to pick up this free KP, and there is Smeggy Toe getting eliminated. And that is not going to be a real chance for him to get back up, to be completely honest, because the other two are probably just going to be running as far away as possible, or at least just trying to heal up, whilst the Legion boys are more than happy to clean things up, and they'll get at least 1 KP. And that's a shame for 69 IQ. After losing that initial fight so many times already today, finally winning an early-ish engagement, but then being punished immediately by the third party. But thus is a Battle Royale, and thus is Apex Legends. That can happen if you have people around you who are wise to noise and wise to engagements. And Nook and the rest of the boys will be very happy to at least get 1 KP out of it.
You can see the teams that have been eliminated so far. Totem Esports, the winners of our last game, they're gone. Croissant, the winners of our third game, they're gone. No creativity. Aski, Yuki, and Del, unfortunately, no wins to their names so far, and just eliminations for them to speak about in this game.
To engagements. And Nook and the rest of the boys will be very happy to at least get 1 KP out of it.
You can see the teams that have been eliminated so far. Totem Esports, the winners of our last game, they're gone. Croissant, the winners of our third game, they're gone. No creativity. Aski, Yuki, and Del, unfortunately, no wins to their names so far, and just eliminations for them to speak about in this game number 5. But 4 teams already eliminated, but we are seeing the pace start to slow down just ever so slightly. In the previous games, we've seen, 4 or 5 teams been eliminated up to this point, so things slightly slowing down. But Underrated, who have not slowed down at any point, who have had their foot permanently glued to the accelerator as far as their pushes are concerned, well, looking to do something very, very similar now as they make their way across Sorting Factory, just looking for their prey, looking for a target, and then looking to strike.
And they do strike. Underrated. They have been one of the most annoying teams in this lobby. And I say annoying because they're obviously, in their eyes, they're not annoying. But in everyone else's eyes, they are. Because as soon as that totem does drop, it's a very frustrating experience, especially when Underrated will attack time and time again until they actually find success. They seem to be quite relentless. Once they have picked a target, they ensure that they kill that target. It's either them or the team they're pushing. Someone's going to die. And it's worked out, I guess, for them so far. They do find themselves 3rd overall. They had a huge game 1, and then game 4, they also found 10 kills alongside their 6th position. So when it goes right for them, it really does go right. But then when it goes wrong for them, they do struggle a little bit. But they're doing enough at the moment to at least keep themselves at the top of the leaderboards, and that's all that matters.
And Navi still working around Sorting Factory at the moment, and they're closest to Underrated, which we can see at the moment. Third impact, it looks like I'm going to run into a solo player just to the right of where we're looking at the moment. So they might have an opportunity to pick up an easy KP. You can see Zeki overlooking things right now. The King of the Fuse, we should point out, which is officially now his nickname. But every other team pretty much located within Lava City at the moment. A lot of teams moving from the southwestern side of World's Edge, though, through Tree towards the Dome too. So going to be some interesting congestion there, and usually a little bit of a difficult choke to work your way through if there's numerous teams who are trying to fight through at the same time. But Ziki at the moment just trying to desperately see if he can get eyes on this player, but it looks like Nika for right now is going to be comfortable and just chilling.
Just chilling, doesn't need to move. As I say that, decides to exit chill mode and initiate firing mode, but will now back off and run away and look to find residents somewhere else to rat out. And TI, I don't think, will be interested in chasing that. They don't really need to with where they find themselves at the moment in match number 5 out of 12, topping our leaderboards. So they finished 1st, 6th, 2nd, and 5th. that's been a pretty consistent day for Third Impact so far.
It's about as good as you could hope for in a Battle Royale, to be honest with you. Incredibly consistent. They've had KP along the way as well. And speaking of KP, underrated. It's time for them to try and rack up a few more. You can see 2 players already been sent back, though, so this hasn't been the strongest of pushes. And now Na'Vi are looking to get aggressive onto them. But look at that turnaround coming in from Swinny. He does fantastically well. And now Nesh cannot get the job done. And Swinny with that opening fight win, turning that battle around, means that underrated again will survive, and once again we'll pick up KP.
Yeah, at the expense of course, Na'Vi being eliminated. Again, in the bottom, 6, bottom 7, so that's not going to be a great situation for them as they move towards day 2. Likely in the bottom 10 with how things have been going. Maybe they could come up clutch in match number 6 and our final game of the day. But certainly for underrated, I've very much enjoyed the way that they play. I like their aggression. I'm all for people pushing at the right times. They haven't been necessarily silly with their pushes, and they haven't put themselves at risk too often. They've calculated their pushes, and they've ensured that they are going to come out with a decent amount of KP. And usually it's when they want to take a position off someone as well. They are still thinking about that end circle.
Okay, well, that circle's very interesting. Now we are going to see absolute carnage when that zone does close. We're going to be safe for the next one. Everyone's pretty much located and pretty much comfortable. You can see a couple of teams just slowly making their way towards Dome, but that's going to be pulling towards the truck, and it's CHMK who are currently located within that. So they're going to be holding down that high ground. It might actually end up in the open just down to the right of where they are, just to the right of where that ping is between Lava City and CHMK. But every other team who is inside of Lava City at the moment is essentially going to have to rotate through open ground. It's no man's land. It's going to be very, very difficult to play, especially if you don't have a Gibraltar on your team.
Yeah, that's going to be a horrible circle. I think everyone probably collectively sighed when they saw where it was going to be heading. There are a couple of positions where you can hold, but certainly pushing from Dome is better than pushing from Lava City, as the Legion boys find a merry man being rezzed, but the res is not going to be picked up, and it's going to be Kick. They are kicked down. 13 squads now remaining, and Kick are not going to get to the latter stages. And Legion boys have had a good game thus far. They've picked up a decent amount of KP. They've pushed into fights when they needed to. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to try and work their way up the leaderboards a little bit, as they were down in 19th coming into this game, and they need a big game if they want to give themselves a chance of getting into that top 10. But they're under a little bit of pressure. A couple of ducks flying through the air for underrated to shoot out as well, as they just hold on the edge of this choke. I wonder whether there's going to be any teams for them to work with. It looks like they are going to be the closest team to the edge of the circle.
And they're going to have to work their way through the zone here, or they could make a late rotation round. You can see the ping actually coming in from Swinny, so they might take a little bit of zone damage here, but they'll have to be very careful on the distance that they would have to travel. And it looks like it is quite a long way to go, so maybe the death protection will give them the opportunity to do so. But no, they're going to stick with plan A, and plan A, hit the totem, hit the black hole, hit the jump pad, and go for sticks. And they are doing so much damage again. It's like watching a B-52 bomber just fly through the skies. But look at this, the solo player is actually going to punish them. Who comes behind them? Swinny will go down, and even though so much damage was done, underrated now in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, Horizon, the last to survive. Incredible shots coming out. And that final solo player will be eliminated, but can Horizon actually stay alive and manage to heal off? As elsewhere, Third Impact trying to push in. They're under fire from everyone in the lobby. It would seem Ziki is going to be the last remaining player. Does manage to heal up thanks to the gold armor, but it's not going to be enough. Can't even go into the void. And that's Third Impact, after having 4 consistent games in a row, will be eliminated a little bit earlier in match number 5.
Yeah, couldn't get into the void, but could turn into a death box very quickly. The Scars Europe now, big game from them, have managed to stabilize, find themselves in a good position, and it looks like RPR, unfortunately, as I say, looking like they're in a good position, falls in the fight, and now it is a 2v2 situation, sorry, as Taishin managed to get an initial knock. The Gibby shield is going to go up. Amazing shots. Going to be coming in from Mandy as well, but unfortunately, he's going to be the last player alive now, so Mandy doing what he could with the Mastiff in hand to do the damage and try and get those kills on the board, but unfortunately, his 2 teammates fell as well, so now it's going to be a case of positioning and trying to persevere towards this end game and preserve those KP along the way.
There's a lot of people have found themselves down to just 1 or 2 players And then it's a case of ratting out and just getting as far as you can in this game. It's double bubble trouble, but dead inside, the first to go down. And what can you do with the Kraber? You need to hit a big shot to help your team win this fight, but the bubble goes against them. Gets the headshot though, Taskmaster taken down. Into the void goes Stanny. The knock might have done a lot. Can he dipsy doodle them with the portal here and just get back up with a bat? The Kraber shot may have done enough just to delay this and allow him to get away.
Amazing shot there coming in from Stanny. And now he's going to have an opportunity to reload that Kraber as well. And even though he might not be able to pick up KP with it, he can at least break some shields here and will be able to influence other fights that could then turn in 7th place into a 5th place, into a 4th place, all these kind of things. But it all depends on hitting those shots as we have 7 squads now remaining. You can see that 9imps is trying to move up here to finish off the kills. Fire Beavers, though, under fire now from behind. New Esports trying to hold this low ground as well, working their way forward. And unfortunately for Stanny, that will be the end of his game. He will be eliminated.
New Esports not in a bad position at the moment. They're going to have to move their way in, but they've got a little bit of cover to work with here. And a Kraber, 5 bullets for Kashira. Can go into Crypto Drone if he wants to try and initiate with a... Well, that's surely a headshot. Surely we just missed. Well, we did. Switched over at just the wrong time, but we did catch Avantgarde cleaning up GMB. And now we're down to 4 squads as Kashira, I'm sure, with that headshot with the Kraber will initiate a push, you would have thought. But Avantgarde seem to be in prime position at the moment on set. They've got this little trailer to work with. And they can watch all the teams trying to come through. As there's Mandy. Be quiet and he won't be found.
I think Mandy could scream across World's Edge right now because the teams are so far away from him that they wouldn't even know. This is the karaoke bar that you dream of. When no one's in there, you can just have a little sing-song, a little drink, and no one can judge you. Mandy, we are with you. We believe in you. But for now, the other teams are starting to posture up a little bit, engage. You can see the Kashira, I think, is going to be able to spot out maybe where Mandy is. But it looks like he's looking the opposite direction, trying to zone out where other teams are ahead of them inside of the zone. Or maybe they're just aware of his location and know that they could turn around a little bit of good communication and just clean that kill up. But 3 shots left in the Kraber here could really turn the tide once more. A lot of discussion about the Kraber being competitive. For me, I'm not so sure if it deserves its place, but one thing I can guarantee is that it certainly provides some exciting moments.
Mandy's going to be coming behind these 3, you know. And he's going to be walking up on this Kraber. And I wonder whether he's going to pick up some KP. Kashira is actually getting shot in the back by Mandy. Gonna have to drop the bubble, and I think now the 3v1 is going to happen just off your screen, whilst also Avantgarde are having a fight on the left-hand side. Mandy looks to get taken down, so it is going to be now 3 squads left. New Esports are up to all 3. The gas canisters come out, so does the ultimate as well. And now the Eva 8 comes in. Some big shots here from Postkill, and this could be a massive moment here for New Esports, which it is. They bided their time. The Kraber shots were there. The Eva 8 shots, and everything just wrapped up nicely for New Esports, who take victory here in match number 5 on set. I thought that Mandy maybe was going to make a big impact there, but unfortunately just got turned on.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was not too much he could do, but at least ratted his way into a top 5 finish. So a good job from Scars from the position that they were in, and that will propel them up the leaderboards. But also propelling up the leaderboards, of course, our winners of this game, something we haven't seen too much of as far as a name in the feed has been, is the team, of course, who took that one home. But this is some of the highlights from this game number 1. And to be honest with you, Scars did a good job to even get to the position. You saw they were being held out so many different times from so many different teams, sort of got knocked once or twice, but still managed to stabilize. Very, very impressive from them. Fire Beavers just to be aggressive, as were underrated. And this was the beam of all beams coming in from Horizon. Those shots with the 301, they hurt is the only way to really explain it.
They very much do when you're on the receiving end of them. And then after a while, Mandy had to... What did you say? He ended up in a karaoke bar. I mean, I guess that begs the question on set. What would be your karaoke song of choice?
Shawn Michaels theme tune from WWF days.
Kid. Okay.
Yeah, the Heartbreak Kid.
I guess if you're in a karaoke bar on your own, you can kind of go with whatever
I can sing
you want.
what I want.
So...
I'd sing in a full bar. It doesn't matter to me. I do not care. I will sing wrestling themes all day. I'll sing. Do you know what it would actually be? Is the GLL commercial music.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. That is what it would be. Maybe, you know, if GLL can set it up, Dan, you can have a little sing along on broadcast. I'm sure they'll be more happy to to make that happen for you. But for now, the penultimate game is done and dusted. Congratulations to our winner of the last game. We've only got one game left. This has flown by once again. So don't worry, everybody. We've got lots of games coming tomorrow. But for now, we're going to take a break. And when we get back, it'll be the final game of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Show me the money. Show me the money. Yeah. 'Cause it feels good right now. Yeah. Gotta show me the money. Yeah. Come on. Never been around wealth, now I'm surrounded. Nice cars at the mansion right next to the fountain. CEOs in business suits and private accountants. Yeah. Summertime parties by the pool, we lounging. Then by night we out stunting on the main strip. Out of state trips, cars with the paint drip. How could you hate this? Jewelry in my chain sit. That's the life I wanna live. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. Yeah. It's all about the lifestyle. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle. Yeah. Come on. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Never have to worry if I have enough dough. Fashion show out in Paris in the front row. Party every night, I don't have time to sleep. Next day it's the same, just rinse and repeat. Summertime trips on the yacht to the island. Squad rolling with me and we do a lot of wildin'. A bottle of whatever you want, just put your order in. You can have as much as you want, there's plenty more of them. Yeah, show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Yeah. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Yeah. Come on. Show me the money. Show me the money.
Welcome back, everyone, to GLL Masters Spring, and we have got the money, we've got everything. We finished match 5, we're about to get to match 6. Mark, what's happening?
I've been given a button. This is it for the broadcast. It's ruined. I've managed to sample Show Me the Money, and for every single time that I see a squad wipe, I'm going to hit it. That's it in the next game. It's as simple as that. GLL, I'm sorry I'm ruining your broadcast, but this is what happens when you get me involved, okay? I'm sorry, Gunnar. If you're listening, I'm sorry, okay? But we do have one more game to go today. We do, of course, have 6 games to bring you tomorrow as well. And maybe they'll give me more buttons. Maybe I won't be back. Who knows? It could all change overnight. But, I mean, it's been an amazing day of action so far, Dan. And when we do get to look at the leaderboards, I think it's going to set us up very, very nicely for what will be happening tomorrow, when all the teams, of course, will be hoping that we can... But yeah, New Esports, obviously the winners of our last game. Dan, I'm going to slow it down right now. Okay, sorry, I'm getting carried away with things. 19 points on the board for them. 7 kills along the way. Avant-Garde, again, another strong performance from them, looking very, very good today.
Yeah, and I guess when we look at Third Impact, it was not the consistency that we'd seen of the previous 5 games. So they may have been our leaders going into this, and they may still well be the leaders depending on where other teams below them finished. Totem were second, they finished in 19th, so they may be still holding first place. But a lot of our top front runners finished a little bit lower, and it allowed some of the lower-ended players to actually take the points here, as we can then look at how that changes the overall leaderboards. And, well, there you have it. Avant-Garde will take that top spot off of Third Impact as they push themselves up to 53. They have a total of 30 kills, which is a lot, but still not as much as underrated 34.
Yeah, very, very impressive from them so far. 53 points is a very, very good total after 5 games of action, especially in a lobby with this much talent. But on the other end of things, I'm looking at that 10th place spot. Scars Europe currently holding it, and that's what it's all about, being on that left-hand side of this graphic when we finish the 12 games that are ahead of us, of course. Scars Europe on 29 points, but then you look down at the other side of things. Naski, Yuki, and Dell, 14 points. That gap slowly starting to open up a little bit now.
Yeah, 15 points off of top 10 for Naski, Yuki, and Dell. And, I mean, everyone still has a chance to get back into things, even Bad Nades, who have had a very, very, very bad day. 23 points off of the top 10. All they need is that one big game, and they're suddenly right back in the mixer. So it's difficult to try and predict who's going to be the top 10, but we're certainly starting to get our bigger teams now who are seeming to find a bit of consistency in these lobbies, getting a little bit used to where people are dropping and where those rotations are going to be.
And this is a big game for teams as far as, you know, how they come into tomorrow, what the feeling's going to be like in the camp, because you finished today with a strong game. You know, even if you're Naski, Yuki, and Dell, we've had a disappointing day so far. I'm sure they won't mind me saying that, you know, they'll be disappointed themselves. But if they can pick up a top 3 finish here with some KP to go alongside, all of a sudden the vibes get restored, right? And you come into tomorrow and you're looking forward to those 6 games. Whereas if they have another game where they slide off the leaderboards and, you know, don't get too many KP and finish outside of that top 10, then all of a sudden tomorrow becomes a very, very different proposition indeed. But this is going to be the final game of the day for us today, and 6 more games tomorrow. Don't worry, plenty more action to come your way. But New Esports, the winners of our last game, it's only right that we start with them, Dan.
Yes, absolutely. They were having a tough day coming into match number 5, but suddenly they were able to pull their fingers out and find a nice placement in the end by winning it. With a Caustic as well. Of course, Caustic was heavily in the meta. Then after some nerfs, we've seen a lot of people transition away from Caustic, but New Esports still utilizing the Caustic, and it worked out for them in that final game. His ultimate really making the difference and pushing and forcing that team out of that van. And they were able to push in and hit some big shots. But now it's about trying to kind of take that victory and use that momentum to try and continue to progress and stay within that top 10 and try and solidify their spot in the grand finals, as it's going to be another circle around the Lava Fissure area on this western side of the map, kind of central west. Also around Train Yard is going to be a nice position to stay. So Na'Vi, after switching up their initial landing spot and changing to Train Yard, have actually had some circles go their way since.
Yeah, they have indeed. It's certainly going to be a comfortable one for them. I just wonder if it's going to finish just outside of Train Yard to the north, or is it going to finish just on the junction of those tracks that you can see as well, or maybe just down on the low ground between staging and Train Yard. So many different zones can actually finish around this area, and all of them kind of dictate what the strongest position to be in is. So a lot of decisions had to be made by teams, and maybe a late beacon for a team might actually be something that is absolute gold dust for them. But you can see all teams looting up at the moment. It doesn't look like there's any congestion, going on. There was a little bit between 69 IQ and the team which is just in launch site still, but it looks like they've kind of split the loot at the moment. No one really wants to fight, but that's kind of what you want to see in a lobby after 6 games. Teams starting to settle things down a little bit and starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with how they want to get points on the board. And the last thing you want to be doing in competitive Apex is contesting off drop. It's for either team. Even if you win 5 out of 5 times, it's still slowing down your rotation. It's still lessening your loot pool. So always something to avoid.
Yeah, go and have your fun contesting drops in pubs, or even ranked, because ranked is basically pubs for some of these teams. It's just a stomping ground at times. When you get into these competitive lobbies, suddenly it's a different experience. It's more about looting up early and rotating and map knowledge and map positioning, of course. And timing your fights right. Third parties can be very important, knowing when to push in and when not to push in, but these are all the things that viewers, I'm sure you know, and all the players know by this point as well, as Apex is getting on a little bit now. Towards Season 9 we are, but a lot of exciting things on the horizon, including the new arena mode, which I am particularly very, 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 very excited for. Not only for potential for maybe different broadcasts and a different tournament, but also a practice ground for a lot of these teams to hone their skills and ensure that they improve in 3v3 fights. And maybe we're just going to see people get better and better with the gunplay in Apex Legends.
Hey man, anything that brings in new players to Apex Legends, I am all for. And I know there's a lot of players from the Halo, Call of Duty, etc., who are very excited to give it a try. And we will welcome them with open arms to the Apex community. As the Legion boys now taking a little bit of damage on their rotation in towards Train Yard, where they're trying to find a little bit of a place to play. Nook taking a little bit of a look up to those train carts. The longbow was hitting pretty hard, but it looks like they're going to actually be backing up here to restabilize, find a few meds to play with, and just make sure those inventories are looking as crispy as possible. And you can see actually a little bit of a push might be going down there, or that might have been a player just retreating at that point. But that's given Legion boys the opportunity now to move into train yards. So those little distractions, those little moments, just opening up lanes of safe passage here for the boys.
Now, we've just been able to get a knock elsewhere. But it's Fire Beavers who are trying to gain the high ground here. There comes the scan, and they are going to be able to single out one of the players here. It's whether they're going to be able to actually push, though. It's quite an awkward angle to try and transition onto these carts. Maybe a nade needs to come through and burn. It does start burning. The Wraith is going to have to back away, but Sunset also getting railed from the side. Elsewhere, Dolphins just picked up some big kills, so NCD doing a job. And that's going to be 2 teams already eliminated, as now we're going to see the ult coming through from the Crypto, make that a double ult. No time to rest to try and bat up, because it's just double ult from the drones.
Well, Nasky Yukindel made a quick rotation as we would expect, and are inside that train cart above where all this fighting's going down. And now Legion boys hearing all this fighting think, hey, we want to come and get involved with this, and they're going to actually take this position away, force that team down low, which is not the position that you really want to find yourself in. And that thermite is going to be burning hard again, and that might even break some shields. Yes, indeed. Nook, though, not in a position to challenge with so many different teams around in train yard. This is the difficulty of playing inside of train yard. There's so many lines of sight, so many different areas of elevation that you simply cannot afford to push down. As now Third Impact hear all of this going on and think, hey, we want a little bit of this.
Yeah, Third Impact can afford to push in for the fight and try and secure that money, because they are one of our front runners. You'd imagine with how they've been playing, the likelihood is they are going to be within the top 10. But they do back off. They say, well, we had a little peek, we threw a couple of nades, but instead we're going to actually look to reposition here. We don't need to throw anything away or throw away the money.
The Legion boys having to stabilize here inside of this train car. You can just see sniper shots just whizzing by the ears, the cheeks, the chin of every single player here. But nothing connecting, which is going to do too much damage at this point. But this is what I mean about playing inside of these trucks and inside of these different layers. Inside a train yard, it's so difficult to hold down. Long gone are the days of Watson and what she can bring with the fences, with the gen. So you're going to be depending on just smart positioning here, not poking and trying to do a little bit of damage and maybe picking up third-party opportunities. Kick Esports, though. There's an opportunity to kick that door, but instead it's going to be finished off outside by another couple of players. And that will be KP on the board for them. And unfortunately, there'll be another team eliminated. Down to 17 squads already here. So 3 players eliminated before round 1 has even closed. We're actually seeing a stick go in, and now look at this. All of a sudden, train yard has just been a battleground at the moment. As Nasky, Yuki, and Del try and take the advantage here and push. 2 players are going to be dropping as well. 2 Gibby Bubbles will go down. And a little bit of a standoff here. A bit of posturing between the 2 teams. It looks like they're going to actually back out this situation, but then again, there's always a player waiting around a corner in train yard who's looking to do damage.
And no potential for portaling out as well, because it's Dal who's gone down. The Phoenix can be applied with Horizon's lift, but is there anyone to stop it? No, it looks like it's going to be okay. And can Dal get up, and can they get the res? As long as no one has pushed them, they should be okay here. So Natsuki and Yuki and Dell, they managed to just have a little mini breather. It was almost very detrimental just getting poked as they tried to run away. But very much holding the high ground now here in Train Yard, which is a fantastic position to be. You just need to be very careful. And they really need the points. Down in 17th position, finishing in 19th, 5th, 15th, 11th, and 19th today. So no real big games. Game number 2, where they finished in 5th with 1 kill, was their best game of the day. But we know they're capable of more.
And it could have been another game where they didn't put many points on the board because they were being incredibly aggressive, knowing that there was numerous teams in the area. That could have gone very, very badly for them. They do get out, though, and they do get the opportunity to stabilize. And I just wonder at the moment if they're kind of caught between two minds on how they want to approach this final game of the day. Do they think, hey, we've got 6 games tomorrow. If we need to go back and change things, we can. Let's just be aggressive in this game, change things up. It hasn't been working so far. But sometimes you can get a little bit reckless. And now we're going to see the Wombo combo coming in. Unfortunately, it's not going to hit for too much, and as I say that, excuse me as I correct myself, that is hitting for a lot. The Arc Stars doing so much damage here, and now Jazaz is going to be moving in. They get 1 knock, they get 2 as well, and that is going to be Kick Esports very firmly on the back foot.
Yeah, and it's been a difficult day for Kick. After such a promising start, finishing 5th and then 1st, they dropped down to 16th, then 15th, then 14th, and then maybe might be falling in the bottom 4 as well here, or bottom 5. It was such a promising start, and at least they've positioned themselves within the top 10 going into tomorrow's broadcast, but certainly they looked like they were going to be one of the real main threats, but it seems to have dropped off ever so slightly. As Scars Europe still looking for points, still looking to try and push themselves even further into that top 10. They are the 10th place team at the moment, so I'm sure eyes very much on them from a lot of the other teams. Mandy healing up, but he hasn't been able to help the teammates. Peacekeeper shots have got to hit big here. Manages to tag one with the first, but the second and third missed. The fourth one doesn't connect either. And I think Aqualix White should be able to get the wipe, which they do. And RPR is the last to fall. And unfortunately for Scars, they fall out in 15th.
They were the meat in the sandwich, so to speak. There was a team at each end of the tunnel, and both of them doing damage there. And unfortunately for Scars, they'll be out again, and that just opens things up, like you mentioned, to the rest of the lobby now. They would have seen that fight go down in the kill feed, and they will know how many points they need to get on the board in this final game to force themselves inside of that top 10. The Peacekeeper shot's just not hitting that time, unfortunately. Just getting caught shooting against those walls and trying to peek and flick around those corners. And unfortunately, just not working. You can see it is going to be a Train Yard finish now, so teams are going to have to be forced to move in, maybe play late on that low ground from staging. If you are coming in from the southern side of the map, T1 now just hanging around the outside of the zone as well. You can see that they're going to have that inside. I think Jazaz has spotted out that they might be moving from Lava Fissure as well. And of course, you can see that Kick have actually managed to get the res up, so a good job getting those banners and getting back into the game and resing back into Skyhook.
And that southern side of the circle is going to be very interesting. Around staging area, 2 teams are rotating in late. I think that maybe even 3 teams actually might be rotating in late, and 2 of them are actually having a little gunfight now, and it's whether Badoli and Dolphin, etc. will push in NCD after seeing that little bit of an engagement. It is Croissant who were having a little scrap and still are having the scrap as they try to rotate through. And that choke is going to be quite an interesting area, just going into Train Yard from this position. And Croissant, after, again, another promising start earlier today, they kind of dropped off a little bit. They've been a team that managed to win a game, but they've also been right at the bottom of the leaderboard as well. We've really seen some variety in terms of finishing throughout this lobby. It's been very difficult to find consistency. A lot of teams having very high highs and very low lows. So we have a little bit of a lull at the moment, and that's what happens when you get a circle where a lot of people can take residence early and they are able to rotate into where they presume the final circle is going to be. This kind of mid-game gets a little bit slower.
This team's just posturing each other at the moment. You can see that New Esports did have that drone up, just making sure that they could spot anyone that was going to be coming behind them from this choke area. Did a good job to spot that out, and Kishiro immediately changed his focus to watch their backs as Croissant move up onto their position. But like you mentioned, we've already had a couple of teams eliminated as well, so there's not going to be as much fighting around the edge as teams trying to force their way in. It's going to be more sort of isolated fights like the one we're seeing here, as you can see. And Crosson are interested in taking this fight. They have to move through this tunnel. It's kind of their only rotation they do have, unless they want to go back through staging and work their way up that way, which looks like might actually be the call. So they're not happy about throwing away potential positioning here, or you can have a little bit of a craft maybe, a little bit of a peek. But for now, we'll go over to NCD, who are moving up from the staging side of World's Edge here. Nags with the scan. He's going to show 3. He's going to back up, wait for his teammates.
Yeah, NCD were the team that were holding staging. I wonder whether they were forced out a little bit, or whether they thought they had to make a move and wanted to take this high ground instead. Dolphin currently the kill leader with 3 kills. There is the lay of the land. As you can see, staging was taken away from them. They had to push across. And now Crosson, if they do go staging, they're going to be walking into another team. They do have a little bit of time to work with. You can see they're going to be in the next circle, so they don't have to commit to either fight just yet. But they will soon find out as they push forward that it's not going to be an easy rotation either way. But they've got to be careful because Kana is alone and separated. And if either of these players goes down, as I'm just kind of watching the fight unfold via the radar, which fight would you rather take? Would you rather go through the choke? I feel like I'd rather go through the choke where at least it's a level playing field rather than trying to fight a team above me at staging.
It's a tough one. I mean, one rotation is easier, but a more difficult fight. One fight is easier, but then it's a more difficult rotation. So I think you're kind of just flipping a coin, to be honest with you. Whatever one you get the advantage in, I think just take the... You got to commit to. Essentially, just pick one, commit to it. And I think that's the only way. I mean, there really is one that's better than the other at this point. And for NCD, they're trying to work their way in. Dolphin, though, getting lit up a little bit. As you can see, 69 IQ now going to be bounce padding away and making their rotation, which is going to leave a little bit more room here for Dolphin and crew to make their moves, as NCD have to now watch over TTM, Totem Esports, who are behind them inside of staging. So an interesting battle now going down, but you can see there's not a huge amount of teams on this side of the map. It's more about what teams get involved in the fight, and you can see that 69 IQ may be thinking that if there's the opportunity for a third party here, that they could take that zip line and maybe take advantage.
It's always risky taking a zip line, though. You just leave yourself so vulnerable. Free shots for all the other teams who might be on the other side of it. Totem are okay for now where they are, as are quite a few teams, to be honest, and that's why this circle is even slower, because there's a lot of places to be hiding right now, a lot of positions to be taking up where you are safe from being shot from different directions. And we can see where this next circle goes. We, of course, already know, but some of the teams wouldn't have known. You can see just pings as to where is going to be that next position to move. And you can also see at the top of your map, a couple of teams just flying into train yard now as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little scuffle.
It's Kick Esports who are making their move as well, and it looks like they were actually going to find somewhere safe to spot, so they're in a better position than some other teams all of a sudden. You can see the Na'Vi dead center of zone. Dead inside also there as well, on the left-hand side, making their way in. CHMK also center zone for now. New Esports playing that choke still. 69 IQ now making their way up, and they're going to be behind dead inside here, and you just wonder, Stanley looks like he's more than aware that they are there, so backing up to his teammates Pfizer and Sadyama now, and this looks like they could be trying to hold out 69 IQ.
Yeah, they've seen a couple of shots now, and we should see a fight between these two teams very shortly. Gibby Bombardment will come out. That's going to be the initiator. And they're just going to have to try and escape that bombardment, which they will, but that's going to be the chance now to push up for 69 IQ. Flatline shots coming out from Tycoon. And the rest of the team need to try and pounce on that, but the bubble comes down just to protect them here. They weren't keen to push, despite the damage, and now the portal will even come out.
Throwing everything into this fight, and they need to as well. They've got the zone closing behind them, and they have to be so careful. The noise they're making as well is going to attract other teams' attention. You can see now what that noise can do, as other eyes will be traced straight onto your team. Arc Stars on the floor. No safe passage in towards the zone at the moment. I'm not sure where they're trying to play either. I can't see any pings on the top left of the screen on the minimap. And it looks like they're just trying to bully their way and maybe look for a team who isn't looking now and try and bully them out of a position, put some shots on their back and clean them up. But NCD now inside of this truck in a pretty good position to overlook this fight and can certainly do some damage.
Certainly get some KP. They're holding out a lot of the other teams. They still have to edge their way into the circle ever so slightly, and they will leave themselves slightly exposed, but there's a little bit of cover to their right. They're mainly just keeping an eye on this fight, which is probably going to happen on this truck right now. 69 IQ pushing in. I'm going to see the double bubble yet again. Slayer's doing some initial damage and will get the better of his opposition. And now the rest of the team pushing to try and clean up the pieces. Tycoon having to go into the void to escape and hoping Smeggy Toe can clean up. And unfortunately, Tycoon just goes straight into more damage and they're going to be out. 69 IQ, third impact with there as the team just waiting for people to push towards them.
Third Impact just been consistently that team so far today. Always in a good position, always finishing the kills, and always having fantastic awareness in those moments. Acolytes White now in a fight themselves, and it looked like Kick got some revenge onto GYD as well in the feed. So now just 8 squads remaining. New Esports, who had to move out of that choke in towards Trainyard, now in a very good position to do so, and some nice shots with the Spitfire are going to make sure that player isn't going to poke as they res.
And this is what happens when you don't have a Gibby. It's much more difficult to get that player up. The Arcstar comes down, which is going to force them to back off and have to re-tap that res, but it looks like they are going to be successful in getting them up as we're down to what, our last 9 teams here. Or last 8 I can't apparently count, but this is our final game of the day with 6 more matches tomorrow, but this is how you set yourself up in a nice position going into tomorrow's show. Make sure you're within that top 10, and of course momentum will be with you. You can go to bed feeling good about yourselves if you have a great last game. So teams that are in a good spot right now, Na'Vi for example, in that top train, and then below them Yuki and Dell, they're just waiting, and it's going to be a difficult fight if anyone tries to take it. Third Impact also looking to get involved, but Zeki does get tagged. You've got to be very careful with every engagement you make at this point on set, because if anyone gets a little whiff of a few weak players, they might be pushing on you.
Yeah, Third Impact just trying to bait teams out, essentially. Now moving up onto this train truck, you can see. And they should be able to get in there safe. The bubble will go down to give them that extra bit of cover. It looks like they're actually going to try and get aggressive as well. I think the TI realized that the idea here for them is they probably can't win this game, but they certainly can pick up some KP on their way to the grave. And that will be important for them to stay top of the leaderboards.
Whoa.
As we finish out our first day's action here in the semi-finals, but TI somehow have stayed alive, have picked up KP, and now they might be in a position to turn this top 7 into a top 1.
That was a great nade from Zeki as well, just nading the floor, backing off, getting support from the rest of the team. Totem Esports in a little bit of trouble from New Esports. Amaz is going to be the last remaining player, it looks, just queuing out, but probably queuing into more trouble. Still alive for now, but there's plenty of players around to try and finish. Has he been able to rat out successfully? No, he is not. Finally, he falls, and that's going to be Totem going down. Aski, Yuki, and Dal, they're in a decent spot as well, but they are right on the edge of this circle. And this is a really tough circle to try and navigate as a final circle, because there's so many different levels. You can have people shooting above you. There's going to be people arguably below you also railing you at the same time. So you really need to communicate with the rest of the team and have a set plan as to where you want to go, because the last thing you want is to split up when you're all pushing in.
Third Impact now in all sorts of trouble, trying to find just a little cubby to play. And Arcstar is going to force them out for a moment. Zeki's going to be forced into the void as well. But Third Impact just showing survivability for now. And as I say that, Jazaz will go down. There's Gibby diving through the window. Zeki just trying to find any kind of position that he can to get those heals off. And now it all falls down to Balong to try and survive. And they now make it into that top 4. But it's Yuki, I can see in the kill feed. It looks like GYD are making moves in this final game.
Balong's doing just enough to survive, though, being a bit of a nuisance. Has got some armor swaps to work with here, but that's some big nades coming down, and this is going to be really difficult. The Gibby's not getting out of this one, and bye-bye Third Impact. They fall in 4th place. And we are going to see 3 remaining teams now. Naski, Yuki, and Dell have been able to walk their way in slowly but surely. New Esports also on the edge here. But the team with high ground, you could argue, have the advantageous position right now, but Sanya has dropped.
Dropping's not that bad a decision at this point. If you get one player to drop who can find an angle, who can find some safe ground, because everyone else is going to be forced down as well. And when you hit the floor, obviously, You're going to be stunned for just a moment. So now CHMK do make their move down to this low ground. They've got the zone closing behind them. The Gibby ult is going to be thrown out to cut off those teams on the right-hand side. And now they will be focusing hard left as they make their move in. Unfortunately, Rugby will go down. And New Esports, who a few moments ago were in shambles, now find that they've got riches at their door as the Mastiff hits as well. 2 squads now remaining. Roger now moving in as well. Cracks one. Can't hit the second, but hits the third. And New Esports will clean house in the final moments of that game. And that is what survivability is all about. Making sure that even if you find yourself in a difficult position, if you can force teams off of you, if you can keep one player alive and get those reses off in those final moments, you can come back and win those games as we take a look at the highlights. But that was a phenomenal job to re-stabilize for them. They were in such a tough spot. Coming from the tunnel, through that vault, tunnel all the way around the edge of train yard, making sure that they weren't making too much pressure. They got pushed once, Dan. They managed to hold that off and keep one player alive and executing beautifully at the end as well.
And that's back-to-back wins for New Esports. After an 18th and then a 13th, suddenly winning 2 in a row will poise them perfectly for tomorrow's 6 games. And it was difficult for CHMK despite having the high ground. Unfortunately, that meant that the other 2 teams knew exactly where they were, and they were the closest to the edge of the circle. So they had to drop, and as they dropped, they just got shot by both of the other teams waiting for them. And then they had a little bit of an issue, both clambering at the same time. It's happened to all of us. If you climb at the same time, you cannot get up that wall, and those extra chunks of damage were just really detrimental to them in the fights in the end. But it was New Esports who waited perfectly, they were patient, and they also executed successfully at the end. I'm sure they're going to be delighted to get back-to-back wins, which is going to push them very high up in this leaderboard, where I'm sure they'll be contesting the likes of Avantgarde, the likes of TI, who have been dominating throughout today as well.
Yeah, some amazing shots in the end there as well, with the Mastiff still showing that it has its place very much in the meta, hitting some big chunks towards that end game. But New Esports really impressed with them. I mean, we talked about what the feeling's going to be like in these teams overnight, and I think the New Esports are certainly going to be all smiles and looking forward to the 6 games that will come tomorrow as well. We'll bring the scores to you as soon as we can. We're going to get those tallied up, of course, and bring them to you ASAP, and obviously that will round us out for the day when we do get that done. But I mean, the interesting thing for me is just looking across the winners that we've had today. I mean, there's been so many different ones. We've had some of our biggest teams inside of those top 3 as well. TI have been really consistent as well. I mean, it's been another great example of how difficult it is in not only semi-finals, but in that final, how difficult it is going to be to take home the GLL Masters Spring this year. It feels like every single tournament that we see, it becomes more and more difficult to become a champion.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, 5 different teams. So New Esports won the last 2 games. We had TI win a game, Kick won a game, Croissant got a victory, and Totem Esports also pulled one out of the bag. But all of those teams, despite having victories, also had some very negative games where they finished bottom 3. That's how difficult these lobbies have been. Even some of the best teams have been struggling in the early stages, whether that be down to rotations not going their way, whether it be down to an early contestation happening, which kind of fizzled out. We had some early contesting going on at the start of the tournament, but towards the end of it, people were changing their drop spots and whatnot because they didn't really want to be taking those early fights. The teams that have really struggled at the bottom, though, they have been clearly at a different level, I'd say, to the top teams. There are maybe 3 or 4 teams who haven't really been able to pick up the pieces at all today, and it's going to be very difficult for them going into tomorrow. For example, Bad Nade, 69 IQ, they've really struggled throughout the entirety of this lobby. So they need to really analyze what's gone wrong for them, where they can improve, and they need some huge games. It's doable. It's not like they're completely out of it with 6 games left, but it's certainly going to be tough for them.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's one of those learning processes, right? It's all about as long as you're moving in the right direction, it doesn't matter what the result is. They're going to get amazing amount of practice out of these games. They're going to get amazing experience playing against some of the best teams in Europe. And, when they get the opportunity to be back in this position again, I'm sure even tomorrow, like you say, they would have learned so much more, and they'll be certainly more formidable and more able to put up some decent points. So good luck to those teams tomorrow, of course. And I love the fact that we get to come back tomorrow as well for the semi-finals. I love the fact that the finals as well, you get 2 days of action. It really is the format to give you the best of the best. I mean, I love match point. I have to say, I'm one of those people who love match point and the excitement and the energy that it brings to a broadcast. But as far as consistency is concerned in a battle royale, that is always what stands out. And the fact that we get 12 games, not only in the final, well, I think we actually get 16 games in the final, but in the semi-final. We've got 12 games to decide who goes to that final. Is an amazing thing. I mean, let's be honest. Who do you think is coming away from today and thinking we need to change things up? Things need to change today. Today was not good enough.
Natsuki, Yuki, and Dell. I think we'll look at today and say, okay, we had a better game coming into match number 6, and that's certainly going to propel them slightly in the leaderboards, but they were down and out throughout the first 5. Without that game, they would have probably been looking at it and saying, hey, top 10's very unlikely for us if we keep playing this way. But they shifted something, and clearly it got a little bit better towards the end of the day, so they need to take that momentum into tomorrow. Another team, Na'Vi, I guess, similar to Natsuki, Yuki, and Dell. They had a good last game, but also had to change their drop spot, so things were difficult for them, but I think that they will do a little bit better tomorrow if they get more used to this train yard drop.
Well, we do have the scores now to bring you all to give you an update on how things will look after the first day's action is done and dusted. This was, of course, the results from that previous game. We just seen the last game of the day, game number 6 of 12, and New Esports at the top, 25 points on the board for them. Natsuki, Yuki, and Dell, big performance from them as well. 6 kills puts them onto 15 points. So a much better finish to the day, but I would agree with what you were saying just a moment ago. Third Impact rounding things off inside of that top 3, as they have been pretty much all day. And that's how things look. 2 back-to-back wins for New Esports, Dan. Top of the pile with 67 points. Third Impact breathing down the neck now on 65.
Yeah, that's what 2 back-to-back wins can do, and you also see Underrated there with the most kills thus far, as I quickly scan my eyes to correct myself, but that is the right answer. 34 kills for them, but their placement points has not been up there. They've just been that aggro team who had that big game to start off with, and that's why they find themselves in 5th position. But it's the teams like Na'Vi, teams like Natsuki, Yuki, and Dell, who are in that bottom 10, who arguably shouldn't be, need to change things up. I say Na'Vi had a better game in that last one, and I guess I was kind of lying. Yes, okay, they got a little bit further because they dropped train yard and the circle went train yard, but they didn't get much KP and they got wiped relatively early in the grand scheme of that final circle. So it's going to be a difficult road for them to try and push on and break into this top 10, but they're only 10 points away. So all it takes is that one game. And as I said, changing your drop spot is very difficult to do.
Yeah, 2 games essentially that they got 0 points in, which is, take that into account, then things change, right? This is the other semi-final that's going on alongside this one at the moment. T-Rex dominating things over there. 69 points on the board for them. Alliance with 64 just behind them, Gambit. But looking down in 10th place, OCN I'm going for. I'm sorry, my pronunciation of that is not worth butchering. And then Uprising, Peepo, and then all these teams behind them. But you can see there's a little bit of separation in this lobby compared to what we've seen in the first lobby. But the surprise here, let's see de France, 12 points down in 18th.
Yeah, they're going to be looking at tomorrow and saying we need a drastic change, because that is more of a leap to the top 10. 25 points. Yes, okay, that's doable in a game, but you've also got to imagine that the top 10 are also going to be securing points every game as well. So it's going to get more and more difficult the longer it goes on without picking up points. Solo Q Goats up into 8th position. I know a fan favorite, and I'm sure a lot of people will be hoping they get to the final so that they can see more of them on their screen.
All right, final thoughts for today, Dan. Well, who do you think has got to step up? Who have you been impressed with?
Been impressed with Third Impact, of course. Underrated impressed me with their aggression, but I also think they need to just keep an eye on themselves going into tomorrow, because it was that one big game that had them right at the top of the leaderboards, and they've slowly trickled down. I'd like to see Na'Vi really step things up, but again, I think changing drop spots did hurt them, so maybe they'll look at train yard again, or they'll look back at the broadcast and try and find a different drop location, because train yard is a difficult one. Not much loot there, but it's been enjoyable. I've really enjoyed seeing the teams kind of go at each other. A lot of early drops being contested. It was great to see some early fun fights, but also a lot of good late game rotations and some fun final circles. And of course, you pressing the show me some money button, which had me very excited.
Show me some money? It's like you haven't even been listening.
Show me dumb money.
Just a little reminder for everyone. Well, that's going to do it all for today. Thank you to GLL and the production team for putting in sterling effort, as always. The observers for doing an amazing job. And of course, you at home for watching and supporting all of these teams and players and everything they do for the competitive Apex scene. But we'll be back tomorrow with the final 6 games of the semis. 6 games gone in a flash. It was almost like it didn't happen, but we've got the scores totaled up, and tomorrow the teams will be fighting out for that top 10 place to go to the finals. That's it for us. See you tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Show me the money. Show me the money. Yeah. 'Cause it feels good right now. Yeah. Gotta show me the money. Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Never been around wealth, now I'm surrounded. Nice cars at the mansion right next to the fountain. CEOs in business suits and private accountants. Yeah. Summertime parties by the pool, we lounging. Then by night we out stunting on the main strip. Out of state trips, cars with the paint drip. How could you hate this? Jewelry in my chain sit. That's the life I wanna live. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. Yeah. It's all about the lifestyle. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle. Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Haha. Never have to worry if I have enough dough. Fashion show out in Paris in the front row. Party every night, I don't have time to sleep. Next day it's the same, just rinse and repeat. Summertime trips on a yacht to the island. Squad rolling with me and we do a lot of wildin'. A bottle of whatever you want, just put your order in. You can have as much as you want, there's plenty more of them. Yeah, show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the lifestyle. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. It's all about the lifestyle.